Chapter 841, Replantation of Severed Limbs. Although his other hand was fractured, the fracture was very clean, so the treatment was very simple. She raised her eyebrows when she heard what the soldiers said. The replantation of severed limbs of the martial artist needs to be done within a dozen hours. If it is ordinary people, it must be done within 6 hours. If it exceeds this duration, even I can't help it. Moreover, the severed limbs that can be sutured usually are those with a clean-cut wound, and the meridians must not be damaged. Otherwise, even if it is sewn up, it is just useless dead cells which will rot sooner or later. When the soldiers heard Heshi's words, the expressions on their faces became more depressed and sad. But, Heshi paused and continued, although the limb cannot be replanted, if a prosthesis is installed, walking like ordinary people is absolutely not a problem. This milieu continent was a world of cultivation, and various spirit plants were planted in her void. Some spirit plants had very strong rhizomes, just like pines and cypresses, but the roots of these spirit plants were much stronger than pines and cypresses. They were also born with spirit. If these were made into artificial limbs, although it was impossible to be as flexible as before, there was no problem in living like ordinary people. Even lifting heavy objects and waving swords were not difficult. With the help of spiritual power in this world, she had dozens of ways to make the compatibility of the prosthesis and the original body to be more than 90%. These prostheses did not need to be removed, nor did they cause pain. The soldiers' eyes widened when they heard this. Someone couldn't help but exclaimed, "Miracle healer Shi, are you telling the truth? My brother can really stand up again. My father can live like ordinary people. Miracle healer Shi, are you an 8th-grade doctor? You can reshape people's severed limbs? But that must require a lot of rare materials, right?" Heshi held Ouyang Haoshuan's arm with one hand, checking the bone fracture with her spiritual power. Heshi couldn't help frowning and said, "I'm not an 8th-grade doctor, and I don't know what method the 8th-grade doctor uses to reshape the severed limb. Speaking of which, I really want to see how this world can truly reshape the limbs. That is almost against the common sense of medical science, right? How can it be done?" After a pause, she continued, "The prosthesis I'm talking about requires only a small amount of thousands-years-old fine iron and a main branch of the songyang wood over 100 years old. It only needs thousands-years-old fine iron and songyang wood?" Some of the soldiers couldn't help but exclaimed, "These are not expensive. I saw a few hundreds-years-old Songyan wood in the Longhu mountain. I also have thousands-years-old fine iron at my home. Miracle healer Shi, is this really enough?" The so-called thousands-years-old fine iron came along in the crystal stone mine. Although it was expensive, it was not rare. And the songyang wood more than 100 years old could be found in many dense jungles. They are not the rare materials used by 8th-grade doctor to reshape body parts. We can't get those rare treasures even if we try our best for a lifetime. However, our relatives can live a normal life with just thousands-years-old fine iron and songyang wood? Is all this true? The soldiers thought of their family members who had lost hope in their lives and that they might get better, and their eyes were red. Someone knelt down first and kowtowed to Heshi, "Miracle healer Shi, please save my father. As long as you can make my father stand up again and make my father live like a normal person again, I'm willing to do anything for you." Chapter 842, Compassionate. Here even Xian Wu clenched his fists and looked at his master with fluctuating eyes. If Princess really has this ability, does that mean that the soldiers who were removed from the Iron Kirin because of their disability can return to their normal lives? They can even return to Iron Kirin. Nangongyu received Xian Wu's excited and pleading gaze, and he slightly raised the corners of his mouth. He looked at Heshi again. The girl's side face was delicate and beautiful with a hint of coldness, but her eyes were so as if they could purify everything in the world. "This is my Shi'er. With such amazing medical skills, mysterious origin, amazing talent, and a compassionate heart that she herself did not want to admit." As long as he thought that such Shi'er belonged to him and would become his wife, Nangongyu couldn't help the surging happiness in his heart. He wished he could hold her in his arms and swear his dominance fiercely. Chen Guang had walked up, cupped his fist at He and said in a tremble voice, "Miracle healer She, I heard that you healed our young master's broken meridians. I'm really grateful to you. Miracle healer She, please treat my soldiers' relatives for the sake of their loyalty toward the kingdom and citizen. No matter what is the price, we are willing to pay. There is no cost, I will help them and their relatives. They can also come to me if they have any illness in the future." As He said, her expression slowly became solemn. She had already confirmed the bone fracture on Ouyang Haoshuan's arm. Chen Guang couldn't help sobbing, and he said in a trembled voice, "Miracle healer She, you really, don't get happy so soon." He interrupted him, then she looked at Ouyang Haoshuan, "Are you ready?" Ouyang Haoshuan was taken aback. He habitually curled up the corners of his mouth. As he was about to nod, he felt so painful that his facial expression suddenly distorted. A crisp crackling sound could be heard from the bones of his arms. It was followed by a second crisp sound. The pain of the bones being twisted couldn't be described in a few words. After the two crisp crackling sound, Ouyang Haoshuan's deformed and drooping arm immediately became normal, but the pain still remained in his bones, making his pale face even paler. He took out a bottle of ointment, rubbed it around his broken bone, then she threw a bottle of medicine to him. She said with a sneer, "Every 3 hours, apply the ointment externally and eat the medicinal pill. It takes time for the medicine to be active, so the fractured bone can't move for 12 hours, otherwise it will be dislocated again. Since you are so daring, I don't think the splint is needed anymore, you can hold your arm and keep it still for 12 hours. Ouyang Haoshuan's body stiffened, then he touched his nose and whispered, "Shiyu, are you angry? What's there to be angry about?" He snorted and stood up. "You haven't gotten your revenge, your cultivation hasn't complete, and your family hasn't been revitalized, then you are rushing to die. It has nothing to do with me. It's okay, you can keep torturing yourself in the future. If you are injured, I will still treat you." But, after a pause, He looked at Ouyang Haoshuan's eyes and revealed a devilish smile. She stretched out her hand, severed arm replantation, 10 million crystals, fractured bone repositioning, 2 million crystals, other external or internal medicinal pills, 3 million crystals. The total is 15 million crystals, please pay it off in one go. Chapter 843, Swear Allegiance. The mask-like smile on Ouyang Haoshuan's face finally froze on his face. He was unable to speak for a long while. But Bai Hu on the side couldn't help laughing. "Ayaya, I said you've been tossing too much. You said it's okay. Mr. Shi can be cured when he comes. Now he will lift a rock and hit himself in the foot. Come on. Ouyang Haoshuan, you really think no one can deal with you?" Ouyang Haoshuan gave a low cough and said helplessly, "I don't have so many crystal stones now, but I will try my best to earn crystal stones." He nodded immediately, "Okay, then when the time comes, you will pay all together with interest." Ha 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 ha, Bai Hu laughed so much that even tears were coming out. "Our princess is so mighty and domineering." Ouyang Haoshuan lowered his head in embarrassment, but a slight smile appeared on his mouth unconsciously. Chen Guang and the soldiers of the Zhenwei army couldn't help but smile. When they first saw their young master, they just thought he was very powerful. However, his body exuded a kind of death and despair, like he wanted to destroy the world. It made people feel terrified for no reason when watching him, they couldn't help feeling sadness and pain. But now, as soon as this miracle healer She appeared, their young master seemed to have changed instantly. The energy in his eyes had returned, the vitality of his body had returned, and even his expression had been stained with the emotions and desires of mortals. Chen Guang couldn't help but wipe the corner of his eye. He secretly thought in his mind, "General Ouyang, if you can see how well young master is right now, you should rest in peace." But just after he was happy for the young master, Chen Guang immediately remembered the previous promise. He looked at He eagerly, "Miracle healer She, you just said that you can treat our soldiers for free, is this true? She even blackmailed my young master for 15 million crystals." He looked at Chen Guang upon hearing the words. A smile that looked a bit terrifying appeared on her face. Of course it is true, because from then on, the Jinwei army will be my private army. Since you 100,000 soldiers are mine, so what if I give you free treatment? Huh? Chen Guang was dumbfounded. The Jinwei army soldiers who had just bowed to He Shi were also dumbfounded. He Shi slowly took out the animal-shaped commander's seal of the Jinwei army and the imperial decree given by Shangguan Wenji. She raised them into the air and said loudly, before General Ouyang died, he entrusted both the Jinwei army and Ouyang Haoshuan to me. Shangguan Wenji has also issued an imperial decree, promising that Jinwei army will no longer be under the Jin Ling kingdom. The Shangguan family can no longer say anything about Jinwei army. Her cold gaze slowly swept across the dense crowd below. They all looked shocked and astounded. She said word by word, from now on, you no longer belong to the Jin Ling kingdom and no longer belong to the Ouyang family. Are you willing to follow me, Shi Yu, and continue your following journey? Chen Guang's mouth grew wide. After a long time, he turned around stiffly and looked at Ouyang Haoshuan. Young master, this is... Ouyang Haoshuan had already walked to He Shi's side at this time. He said with a smile, Uncle Chen, I think I have made it clear just now. Jinwei army is indeed entrusted to Shi Yu by my father. I heard it myself. I have also said that I won't lead the Jinwei army because it has already belonged to Shi Yu. As he said, he looked at Shi Yu and knelt down slowly. His right hand, which had just been connected, was at his chest and his right hand was at his back, swearing allegiance to He Shi. Chapter 844, May Mr. give orders. Ouyang Haoshuan will like to admit Shi Yu as my master. Heaven and earth will be the witness. I will always follow Shi Yu's side, listen to his command, and never betray him. If I violate this oath, I will be punished by heaven and earth. At the foot of Dragon Tiger Mountain, there were 100,000 people standing in a daze, but at the moment, they were silent as if someone had pressed the pause button. Time flowed quietly. There was only the rustle of the wind blowing through the blades of grass in their ears. Finally, the soldier who had just held the broken arm of Ouyang Haoshuan couldn't help asking, Miracle healer Shi Yu, can you really heal my brother's leg? He Shi smiled proudly, I can't cure all diseases, but if I say it can be cured, I will definitely do it. Are you satisfied with this answer? The soldier trembled all over. His knees suddenly became soft as he knelt to the ground. Miracle healer Shi, I said that as long as you can cure my brother, I'm willing to do anything for you, let alone recognizing you as my master. I'm willing to follow you as the commander. I'm willing too. Among the soldiers, some people knelt down one after another, from 1 to 2, 10 to 100, but then thousands of people all knelt down. Some people who didn't kneel down looked at Chen Guang, waiting for his instructions. Ouyang Haoshuan stood up and looked at Chen Guang and said, Uncle Chen, what are you still hesitating? Have you forgotten the Jinwei army's dispatch conditions? As long as there is the commander's seal of the Jinwei army, plus the recognition of the Ouyang family's bloodline, Shi Yu does not need any answer from anyone. She is already the new commander of the Jinwei army. Chen Guang was shocked, looking at Ouyang Haoshuan with complicated eyes. Young master, do you really have no intention in taking over the Jinwei army? Ouyang Haoshuan chuckles and said, no matter who leads the Jinwei army in the expedition in the future, the Jinwei army must be loyal to and belong to Shi Yu alone. This is my will. Chen Guang looked at He Shi with tears in his eyes, and he said in a hoarse voice, we are not unwilling to ask me to follow Mr. as our commander in command, but I want Mr. to promise us one thing. He Shi nodded and smiled with majestic solemness and determination, don't worry, one day, I will let Feng family pay their debts and let them fall into the boundless hell to repay the debts they once owed, and this one day will never be far away. Chen Guang closed his eyes and did not hesitate this time. He knelt down on one knee to He Shi and kowtowed. Chen Guang, Deputy General of the Jinwei Army, will follow the command of Mr. From now on, you are the only master of our Jinwei Army. With this kneeling of Chen Guang, the remaining soldiers of the Jinwei army no longer hesitate. They knelt down and shouted in unison. We will follow Mr.'s commands. The voices of 100,000 people were uniform. That was truly earth-shaking. Even the birds on Dragon Tiger Mountain were startled, they soared into the sky with fluttering sounds. Another loud shout happened again, it was more unison and more shocking than the last time. May Mr. give orders? Bai Hu watched this scene dumbfounded, and he murmured, Mom, Princess is so powerful, even I want to shout, Mighty Princess. Xian Wu couldn't help but squint slightly. The young woman dressed in a male costume stood above the 100,000 Imperial Guard with a calm expression. Her eyes looked clear with a hint of persistence. Her body seemed to be shining brightly. The most beautiful scene on the whole world seemed to be her only. Such a woman will be Master's wife and our princess. Chapter 845, Burning Fire. Xian Wu's eyes shone brightly, and he suddenly looked forward to the future of King of Hell Mansion. As for Kai Jia and Feng family's guards on the side, their emotions could no longer be described as shock and panic. Kai Jia just heard Bai Hu saying that Jinwei army belonged to their princess. Besides, he knew who this handsome young man was. He was the rising star of the Yanjing city in the past 6 months, the young miracle healer, Shiyu. He appeared out of thin air a few months ago and suddenly became the focus of everyone. In the beginning, he was just a young miracle healer who could heal broken meridians. Later, he inherited the purple golden palace from the sealed dragon domain and cured the blood-drunk poison. Later, Xingda Hall and its best quality pill became famous all over the continent. In the Breaking Spirit Mountain, the Feng family was also being oppressed by him. He even befriended the Shen family. Now, he had even completely subdued the 100,000 Jinwei army. Such a stunningly talented young man, Bai Hu actually called him Princess. So, she is a woman disguised as a man. Not only that, she will even into the King of Hell Mansion and become Nangong Yu's help. Who is this person, and what is her origin? Kai Jia thought this way, and his expression became more unsightly. He suddenly discovered that ever since Shiyu appeared, their Feng family had been declining step by step. It became more and more difficult for them. Is this Shiyu the nemesis of the Feng family? Could it be that the Feng family, which has been passed down for thousands of years, is about to be utterly destroyed by such a young girl? Thinking of this, Kai Jie's body couldn't help shaking. At this time, Ouyang Haoshuan has also slowly walked toward Kai Jie. Facing Ouyang Haoshuan's dark eyes with a smile, Kai Jie suddenly remembered Sun Mingyuan's fate. No, he didn't need to remember it. Sun Mingyuan couldn't make a sound anymore, but his body was still burning and his spirit was still tumbling in his body. That meant, he was still alive, enduring the pain of burning fire. Kai Jie had a horrified expression on his face. Before he thought about it, he grabbed a flying sword on the side and swiped it toward his neck. Instead of suffering a living hell before dying like Sun Mingyuan did, he might as well die now. Ouyang Haoshuan snorted, and dozens of fingernail-sized fireballs flew out of his hand. Those fireballs were aimed at the wrists of Kai Jie and others. The fireballs accurately penetrated their wrists and burned their wrist bones. Kai Jie screamed. The flying sword in his hand fell to the ground, and he could no longer use it to suicide. Seeing Ouyang Haoshuan walking step by step, Kai Jie's face was full of horror and despair. He muttered, "Kill me, just kill me, please." The red lotus sword in Ouyang Haoshuan's hand was raised. The red flames spread on it, fluttering slightly. There was still a small smile on his mouth. He said with his gentle voice, "My parents begged you like this before. My parents also wanted to beg for a quick death, but you didn't give them this chance. Now, why should I spare you?" As soon as the voice sounded, the red lotus sword turned into several sword lights and shot out. All of a sudden, the flames engulfed the bodies of these 30 people. The wailing sound spread throughout the foot of the Dragon Tiger Mountain again. Ouyang Haoshuan took back the red lotus sword, did not look at them again, and returned to Heshi. "Feng family, Feng Yunjing. Don't worry, my revenge has just begun." Chapter 846, settled down in the Battle of Dragon Tiger Mountain, the Jinwei army became Heshi's private army, and the horn of the Iron Kirin Guard also sounded throughout Yanjing City. The army, dressed in black and strong outfits, shuttled uniformly in Yanjing City. Their purpose was to eliminate all the forces of the Feng family in Yanjing City and get rid of their bases one by one. At this time, the Jinwei army had been transferred to Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory by Heshi. The scope of the Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory was extremely wide, otherwise it would not be able to accommodate countless martial artists to treasure hunt. Although there were many Jinwei army 100,000, it just occupied a small corner of the Sealed Dragon Domain. What Heshi arranged for them was the Ice-Snow Realm. Most of the land in the Ice-Snow Realm was covered by snow, but it was survivable. There was a huge ancient tree planted in the center of the Ice-Snow Domain. The roots of the ancient tree covered hundreds of kilometers around. The place was like picturesque scenery, and the climate was pleasant. But the place outside of the ancient tree was freezing, the temperature was 12 degrees below zero. Ordinary people would be frozen to death within half an hour. Just like Sain and the others were shocked and unbelievable when they saw the Sealed Dragon Domain, Qingchuo and the 100,000 Jinwei army were in a state of stagnation, aphasia, and confusion since they were brought into the Sealed Dragon Domain. Feeling the rich spirit here and seeing the spiritual grass and spiritual fruit within reach, many soldiers couldn't help but pinch their faces. Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Ouch! It isn't a dream. But, where does the Jinling kingdom have such a place? If there is, wouldn't it be divided by the major sects? Chen Guangxiang was a steady man, but stepping on the soft grass and feeling the spiritual power surging in, he still couldn't help but look at Heshi tremblingly. Mister, can we really live here? Heshi waved her hand and said, this is the most suitable place for your training and living. In the future, you can build your own houses here. If you need any materials, go to the Greenwood Domain through the teleportation array next to the ancient tree. If there is something you need, just look for the manservants in the Greenwood Domain, they will do it for you. Chen Guang opened his mouth for a long time and couldn't speak. Soldiers with ordinary knowledge like them, although they knew that Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory was opened a few months ago, no one knew what the secret territory looked like. Of course, they did not know that they were in the famous Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory. If they knew it, they would be even more restless and unable to sleep for a few nights due to overexcitement. Heshi took out a few inscribed jade slips and handed them to Qingchuo. She said in a deep voice, here are 2 relatively simple sets of cultivation techniques and a set of battlefield formation techniques. The cultivation techniques are created in accordance with the formation technique. They aren't powerful, but if they become a formation, they would become a great weapon to capture or kill the martial artist who is below the gold core stage. Qingchuo tremblingly took the inscribed jade slip and took a look at it. He found that the techniques inside were written as, unnamed technique number 1, unnamed technique number 2, but the formation had a name called, 7 Stars Death Seal Formation. The so-called 7 stars naturally required at least 7 people, or a multiple of 7 people, to form a formation. These 7 people all cultivated the same techniques. Once they formed a formation, they could exert power dozens of times higher than their ordinary strength. If the formation became 49 people formation, and they had reached a certain proficiency, even the martial artists of the Meridian stage could easily be killed. Qingchuo took a deep breath. Isn't this formation too powerful? And the formation process is so simple, it can be said that it is the most suitable formation on the battlefield. Heshi was very dissatisfied with the 7-star Death Seal formation, for no other reason, too weak. By gathering a maximum limit of 7 people, it could only kill the martial artist at the Meridian stage. For her who could simply find an opponent above the gold core stage, it was useless. But this, 7-star Death Seal formation, was recorded in the record of everything by old man Sumi. Heshi let Nangong Yu read it. He also didn't know how to improve it. He just said that the formation seemed simple, but it had the power that didn't belong to the Miluo continent. It couldn't be changed easily. But this formation was useless for Heshi and her little ones, but it was very useful for Jinwei army. This was because the requirements for learning this formation were really low, and the supporting cultivation techniques were also very simple. Chen Guang's hands holding the few inscribed jade slips trembled even more. He put away all these inscribed jade slips like a hidden treasure and solemnly bowed to Heshi again. This is Jinwei army's greatest luck to be able to serve Mr. after General Ouyang's death. If Chen Guang knew that the inscribed jade slip he cherished was despised by his master plus general, how would he feel? But remembering that there were still many mortals in his army who couldn't practice cultivation techniques, Chen Guang couldn't help but raise this question. Heshi shook her head and said nonchalantly, the so-called mortals cannot cultivate cultivation techniques because their spiritual root is too impure that they couldn't absorb the spirit of heaven and earth. After a while, you count the number and go to Shisan to get the second-grade bone muscle enhancement pill. They just have to take one bone muscle enhancement pill and soaked with medicine for a few days, then they will naturally begin to absorb spirit into their bodies. What? Chen Guang was no longer shocked this time, but horrified. Mortals can also cultivate. What kind of medicine is bone muscle enhancement pill? The Jinwei army was stationed outside the city all year round and had little contact with people. Apart from Ouyang family-related matters, they didn't know much about it. His exclamation shocked all the Jinwei army soldiers. After hearing Chen Guang's words clearly, the mortals who could not be cultivation suddenly felt ecstatic. They couldn't believe their ears at all. Heshi waved her hand and said, "Don't get too excited. You all only have 2 months to adjust. In 2 months, people who are able to cultivate initially need to learn the first level of the supporting cultivation techniques of the 7-star Death Seal formation. People who could not cultivate must be able to absorb spirit into their bodies. 2 months later, you all will be tested in the ice-snow domain. I will let Shi Jia and the others supervise your training. Only if you pass the test I set through diligent training, can you rest or leave here to visit your family. If most people can't survive," Heshi's mouth revealed a grim smile, "I don't think you guys want to try the punishment of ice and fire." Although they didn't know what the punishment of ice and fire was, most people still trembled all over. However, compared to the unknown test, everyone still couldn't help having tears in their eyes when looking at the wonderland-like environment around them. A soldier couldn't help but stepped forward and asked Heshi carefully, "Mister, can I bring my family to live here?" Chapter 848, Rations. After asking this sentence, he was flushed with shame and waved his hands again and again. "If can't, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry, I'm so greedy." "Who knows," Heshi said decisively, "can. If you want to bring your family in, you can report to Shisan. If your family members are in poor health or want to cultivate, then report to Shisan to receive the bone muscle enhancement pill. In addition to your own bone muscle enhancement pill, I will give each of you one more portion. But before you come in, you must first vow with your soul to not disclose anything about this place including the bone muscle enhancement pill. You must not simply bring in outsiders. Your family also needs to go through this process. Once the secret is leaked, your soul will be destroyed." Ah! The soldier never thought of such a consequence. He was astounded at the moment, then his eyes were red. He knelt down on his knees respectfully, kowtowed at Heshi a few times, and said with a sobbing tone, "Mister, no matter what you ask me, Wang Xiaowu, to do in the future. If I frown at your order, I will jump down into that glacier just now." The glacier Wang Xiaowu said was a cliff-like place in the ice-snow domain. It was bottomless. Even the gold core stage martial artist would be dead if he fell into it. Wang Xiaowu's words immediately made the other soldiers laugh. They slapped him on his shoulders and sneered, "What kind of oath is this? Shouldn't you say if you betray Mister, you will be punished by God and suffer a living hell? What the hell is jumping down into the glacier? Ah! If my parents knew that they can live in such a fairyland-like place, they will definitely cry out excitedly. I really hate why I didn't meet Mister a few years earlier. My parents could still be alive. But fortunately, I still have a sister, and her talent is not bad. After eating bone muscle enhancement pill, she will definitely be able to achieve great success. I still feel like I'm dreaming. Can I really live here? Not only can I live by myself, but I can also take my brother to live with me. From now on, Mr. is our master, and we must follow the general's will and be loyal to him. If anyone dares to betray, our 100,000 Jinwei army will never forgive the person. Yes. Loyal to Mr. If there is betrayal, we will never forgive. A group of people changed from excited discussions to more excited slogans. When Heshi came out of Ice Snow Domain, she even felt a headache due to the shouts. 100,000 people are really troublesome. Moreover, I need to prepare the rations for 100,000 people. In the future, I also have to find ways to get weapons and other mobile tools like horses. Haze, how much crystal stone does this need? How much? Thinking of the first batch of rations and clothes that needed to be provided, Heshi had a headache. So many people, I just can't let them eat the fierce beast in the sealed dragon domain, right? Wouldn't that exhaust all the resources? Even if the sealed dragon domain has rich resources, it can't support it. Heshi was depressed. Suddenly, her body was being hugged into a warm and familiar embrace. Nangong Yu's deep magnetic voice sounded in her ears, "What are you thinking about? Why are you so unhappy? Even your little mouth can gourd now." His slender fingers with thin calluses rubbed her lips, bringing her trembling numbness. Heshi blushed, pushed his fingers away, and told him her worries again. Chapter 849, Marry Me. Nangong Yu suddenly smiled and said, "How is this a problem? I naturally have a way to help you solve it." Heshi raised her eyebrows and looked at him. She knew that what this guy said must not be a normal way. She couldn't help but squint and said, "Tell me about it first." Nangong Yu really loved her arrogant and cunning look. He pinched her little nose, then he leaned close to her ear and whispered, "As long as you marry me, my betrothal gift will be delivered to you." You naturally have the crystal stones to keep these people. I can promise that my betrothal gift will be able to let you keep this 100,000 Jinwei army for hundreds of years. Heshi was taken aback for a moment. Feeling the warm breath of the man blowing her sensitive earlobe and neck, she couldn't help blushing. She pushed him away and said in anger, "Don't make trouble. I'm talking serious business with you." Nangong Yu looked at her innocently, "I'm now talking about serious business to Shir, right?" As he said, he slowly grabbed Heshi's hand and pressed it on her chest. Once again, he asked in a very solemn and earnest voice, "Shir, when will you marry me?" Heshi blushed and wanted to withdraw her hand. Her voice was low like a mosquito fluttering, "We were just talking about serious business, why are you saying this again?" How would Nangong Yu let her withdraw her hand? He said softly, "I have already proposed a marriage, and you did not object that day." Heshi shook her head quickly, "That was just to deal with the Nalan family, how can you take this seriously? How can I not?" Nangong Yu flipped his wrist, and a red marriage proposal appeared in his hand. "Look, I even got Shir marriage proposal too. Does Shir still want to renege it?" Seeing Heshi blushing and not speaking, Nangong Yu squeezed her chin and forced her to raise her head to meet his eyes. His voice was low and dull with the loss and anxiety that he would never have usually. "Shir, you still don't trust me enough, don't like me enough, right? So you regretted it, you don't want to marry me as my wife?" Nangong Yu also knew that it was too fast to marry Shir now. He knew that this little girl was overcautious and independent, and her feelings for people were even slower. Therefore, it was best to take his time to spoil her little by little and to let her get used to him so that she would never leave him. But today, seeing Heshi's performance under Dragon Tiger Mountain, seeing the fanatical admiration of Jinwei army soldiers for her, and seeing the tacit interaction between Ouyang Haoshuan and her, Nangong Yu suddenly felt uneasy. The girl in front of her was so dazzling and outstanding, and her light would become more and more unconcealed. If one day, everyone knows her goodness, will someone take Shir from him? Heshi also felt Nangong Yu's anxiety, even sadness. She didn't know why Nan Gongyu was suddenly upset, but his emotions still infected her and made her feel bad. She stretched out her hand to hug Nan Gongyu, and couldn't help but softly said, "I have no regrets, Nan Gongyu. For me, I have decided to follow you in my lifetime. If you don't abandon me, I won't leave you. It's just that now is really not the time." Shaoqi's illness is still not healed, there are still many hidden dangers in about my origin, the Feng family and the Doctors Association are also lurking in the dark. When Nan Gongyu heard Heshi saying words like, not leaving him, his worries and loss were all gone. Before waiting for Heshi to finish speaking, he hugged her into his arms, kissed her lips, and whispered, "No need to say anything, I'll wait for you." Heshi was stunned. She didn't understand how Nan Gongyu's mood changed so easily, like the face of a 6-month-old child. But Nan Gongyu said, "I'll wait for you," decisively. She was still moved by him. She felt she was being loved unconditionally. She gently grasped Nan Gongyu's wide palm in her hands, drew on his palm print with her slender fingertips, and whispered, "Nan Gongyu, thank you. Thank you for your unconditional tolerance of me. You have been protecting me since the beginning." Before she finished speaking, her red lips were blocked by a hot, humid breath. When the kiss was over, Heshi's body was already weak. She only had the strength to gasp. She grabbed Nan Gongyu's clothes and heard his low-pitched voice whispering in her ears, "Sheer, you never need to say thank you to me." Heshi was feeling moved and warmth in her heart, but Nan Gongyu continued to use a more hoarse and passionate voice to say, "As long as you can fulfill my hunger after marrying, it is fine. Because I'm really holding back too much. Get lost." Heshi kicked him away. Her face was flushing as if it was burning. This man really dares to say anything, he is getting more and more shameless. Nan Gongyu ignored Heshi's resistance and embraced her soft body again. As the two were about to get their intimate moment, Heshi suddenly sensed that a stranger had entered the sealed dragon domain. She looked at Nan Gongyu. "It seems that Shen Wu has come in. He should be looking for you for something." As Heshi said, she controlled the space with divine sense. They came to the Greenwood domain instantly. Shen Wu was still marveling at the magic of Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory, and his princess actually took Sealed Dragon Domain's secret territory into her bag. Then he saw Nan Gongyu and Heshi appeared in front of him. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, my master and princess." Nan Gongyu asked directly, "What happened?" "Reporting to master." Shen Wu stood up and said, "Something has indeed happened. In the past few days, I lead the Iron Kirin army to check most of the Feng family's bases in Yanjing City. The Feng family people either escaped or were dead. They basically couldn't resist." Shen Wu paused and said, "Because the Benevolence Hall, Jisheng Hall, is also the secret property operated by the Feng family, and the 4th-ranked doctor, Chang Sheng, of the Benevolence Hall is He Sha's subordinate, so I ordered them to let go of the people of the Benevolence Hall and the 5th-ranked doctor and to arrest Chang Sheng." Nan Gongyu raised his eyebrows. "Did you let that Chang Sheng escape?" Shen Wu shook his head quickly. Chang Sheng was found in the backyard cellar of the Benevolence Hall, but a riot broke out in the Benevolence Hall. "Riot?" "Yes, riot. Almost 30% of the martial artists in Yanjing City, especially the martial artists of the major families, have been involved." As soon as Shen Wu said this, Nan Gongyu and Heshi both showed surprised expressions. 30% of martial artists? What is going on? Shen Wu did not dare to neglect, and he quickly said what had just happened in quick and simple words. He was still waiting for the princess to save the situation. It turned out that when Iron Kirin rushed into the Benevolence Hall, they didn't find Chang Sheng. Dr. Tang and the other manservants of the Benevolence Hall were also tied up in the corner, shivering in desperate. Shi-san just happened to see this scene when going to Shengda Hall. Seeing this scene, he immediately came up and said to the captain of the Iron Kirin army, "Captain Lin, to be honest. Although Dr. Tang and these menservants are working in Benevolence Hall, they aren't Feng family's people. They are just hired, they know nothing. They also take good care of our Shengda Hall usually. The squad leader surnamed Lin inherited the usual cold-faced character of Iron Kirin. His complexion did not change, but his attitude toward Shi-san was very respectful. Each of them in Iron Kirin knew that Xingda Hall's owner was their future princess. How could the princess's confidant be easily offended? Even if the princess was not angry, their master would have to skin them off. Captain Lin quickly ordered them to release Dr. Tang and the group of menservants. As soon as Dr. Tang was free, he knelt down in front of Shi-san in tears. "Shopkeeper Shi, your life-saving grace, I really don't know how I return it." The menservants of the Benevolence Hall also knelt down to Shi-san. One of them was once a medicinal apprentice in Xingda Hall. At this time, he was even more ashamed and couldn't lift his face. He cried with tears, "Shopkeeper Shi, I abandoned Xingda Hall that day, but you are still willing to save me. Your great kindness." Shi-san laughed and said, "It's just a simple help, how can that be kindness? What's more, you all are not from the Feng family, so I'm telling the truth. How can it be considered great kindness? But if you really want to thank me, why not work in my Xingda Hall? Our branches are opening one after another. Now, we are lacking people with experience like you. Especially Dr. Tang, if we have to be in charge of a branch, that would be a blessing for our Xingda Hall." Dr. Tang and the other menservants others looked at each other. They could see the ecstasy in each other's eyes. Today's Xingda Hall was totally different from the old Xingda Hall. Everyone couldn't wait to work for them. They heard that even the lowest class servant could get the upper grade medicinal pills. Now that they had been invited by Shi-san to work in Xingda Hall, how could they not burst into tears with excitement? Dr. Tang and these menservants nodded again and again, expressing their infinite willingness to join. The misery and despair just now had turned into ecstasy. Dr. Tang remembered something at this moment. He turned around and tremblingly said to Captain Lin, Captain, you come to Benevolence Hall, are you looking for Dr. Chang Sheng?" Captain Lin's eyes lit up and nodded. "You know where he is?" Physician Tang pondered for a moment and said, "Dr. Chang was still in Benevolence Hall a few days ago, and I haven't seen him leave. I guess he hasn't left here. Besides, there is a spot among the flowers in the backyard of Benevolence Hall. The hidden cellar seems to be left by the former owner. I guess Dr. Chang will hide there." Captain Lin was overjoyed and immediately asked people to search. After a while, he saw several Iron Kirin soldiers walking over with Chang Sheng, who looked embarrassed with disheveled hair. Chang Sheng's face was full of horror at this time. The arrogance and loftiness of the fourth-rank doctor were no longer there. The soldiers threw him in front of Captain Lin. His face hit the handle of the long blade in Captain Lin's hand, and he trembled in fear. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'm the fourth-rank doctor, I have saved many lives. The Doctors Association has issued an order that all doctors who have saved people have the right to death exemption. You can't kill me." Chapter 852, Horrifying Look. Captain Lin sneered and said coldly, "Chang Sheng, you said you have saved many lives, so can you tell me how many lives have been killed by following He Sha? A conscienceless doctor like you, letting you live in this world is the greatest sin." As he said, the tip of the long blade slid against his neck. Chang Sheng instinctively backed off, but he still felt a pain in his throat. His hair on the side also fell down. He was scared witless instantly. He shouted, I'm going to die. My head is chopped off." In fact, it was just a small wound on his throat, and only a few strands of his disheveled hair were cut off, but he was so afraid that he lost his mind. Even his shit and urine came out. Shi-san, Dr. Tang, and others who watched this scene couldn't help laughing. When Chang Sheng heard the laughter, he realized that his head was still there. He was ashamed, then he looked desperately and fearfully at the long blade that was raised in Captain Lin's hand again. Just when he thought he was going to die, there was a sudden commotion outside the Benevolence Hall. Immediately afterward, a person with disheveled hair rushed in. He shouted some meaningless sentences and his movements were crazy, but his strength was terrifying. Iron Kirin's soldiers tried to stop him, but they were pushed back for several meters by him instead. As soon as this person rushed in, everyone smelled a strange fragrance mixed with blood. It was obviously a fragrance, but it made people feel nauseous when smelling it. It even had a kind of unstoppable irritability. Sain was more shocked than everyone else. He seemed to have smelled it somewhere before. He couldn't help but look at the person, and he was even more shocked by this look. Since running Qingde Hall, Sain had known many reputable and well-known people in Yanjing City. Especially the descendants of several major families. He could recognize most of them. Many of these people tried to get close to him, hoping to buy the best quality pill, but they were often rejected. As for the person in front of him, Sain recognized at a glance. He was the descendant of the Huangfu family, Huangfu Ming. This Huangfu Ming was only 25 years old this year, but he was already at the intermediate stage of the meridian stage. In the Huangfu family, he was known as a genius. However, his cultivation had stagnated for some reason 3 years ago. He had been staying at the meridian stage without any improvement. This situation continued until Huang Fuming bought a top-quality second-grade bone muscle enhancement pill from Qingde Hall, then his stagnant cultivation suddenly broke through to the middle stage. Huang Fuming was overjoyed. From then on, he went to Qingde Hall every day to buy the best bone muscle enhancement pill. However, the best quality pill originally sold at Qingde Hall was very little, not to mention the most precious bone muscle enhancement pill. So Huang Fuming waited for a month, but he couldn't wait for the best bone muscle enhancement pill. Finally, he was ashamed into anger. Sain still remembered when he showed up for the last time. He sneered and said, "Do you think that only your Qingde Hall sells medicinal pills for enhancing cultivation? I tell you, I have already got medicinal pills that are better than the bone muscle enhancement pill. When I break through to the gold core stage, I'll demolish your damn shit Qingde Hall." Sain had long been accustomed to the harsh words of such people, so he didn't pay attention to Huang Fuming's words at all. Who knew that after not seeing him for a month, he suddenly turned into such a horrifying state? Chapter 853, Cold Eating Pill. The lunatic with loose hair, sunken cheeks, and cloudy eyes in front didn't look like the elite child of the Huangfu family at all. How did Huangfu Ming become like this? Huangfu Ming rushed into the benevolence hall madly. He had terrifying strength, and he seemed to be unable to control his behavior at all. But when his turbid and soulless eyes saw Changsheng, there was a sudden burst of fanaticism. He rushed past like an arrow. "Dr. Chang, give me the cold eating pill, please. Give me the cold eating pill. Cold eating pill." Sain realized it immediately. Finally, he remembered that sweet and disgusting fragrance, and he knew why he felt familiar. When Gu Yofeng's mother, Gu Yulan, was still under mistreatment, her body used to emit such a scent. I heard that Gu Yofeng's mother was crazily addicted at that time because of taking too many cold-eating pills. At this time, the soldiers of Iron Kirin hadn't reacted yet, and they didn't know what the cold-eating pill was. But Changsheng felt that he saw the hope of living. There was a grinning smile on his face, and he said loudly, "Yes. Yes. Cold eating pill, only I have the cold eating pill. You can only beg me if you want the cold eating pill, ha ha ha." Huangfu Ming crawled under the feet of Changsheng, pulling his trouser tightly. He didn't have the dignity of a family boy. He kept muttering, "Dr. Chang, please, give me the cold eating pill, give me the cold eating pill quickly. I really can't stand it anymore." As he said, he scratched his neck and heart frantically. His clothes were torn, and his flesh and blood were torn, but he still didn't seem to feel the pain. Changsheng hurriedly said, "The cold eating pill is not here. You, hurry up and save me. I will take you to get the cold eating pill." "Okay. Okay. As long as you give me the cold eating pill, I can do anything for you." Huangfu Ming stood up abruptly, grabbing Changsheng and rushing out. How would Captain Lin and the others let Changsheng escape? They soon controlled Huangfu Ming and tied him firmly. It was just that Huangfu Ming's strength was really great, and the way he fought was completely disregarding his life. He really had lost his mind. Changsheng was caught by Iron Kirin again. Seeing Huang Fuming also fell into their hands, he couldn't help but shouted in horror, "You can't kill me. Cold-eating pill, do you know what that is? The rich and powerful people in the Yanjing city have already taken it. As long as they take cold-eating pill, they will become addicted. If they stop consuming the cold-eating pill, they will become crazy, irrational and aggressive like this person. If there is no cold-eating pill for a long time, they will die. If you kill me, you will also kill this group of people, and the elders of those disciples will not let you go." As soon as this remark came out, everyone who was originally just watching the excitement couldn't help being shocked. In the meantime, there were also many people who had taken the cold-eating pill. Hearing Changsheng's words at this time, they felt shocked and angry. When Huang Fuming rushed in and said that he wanted the cold-eating pill, they already had an ominous premonition. They wondered if Huang Fuming had done something wrong during cultivating, and it had nothing to do with medicinal pills, but Changsheng's words had completely destroyed their illusions. Someone couldn't help taking a step forward, grabbing Changsheng's collar fiercely, and saying sternly, "What do you mean by this? What does it mean we will die without the cold-eating pill?" Changsheng's face was being pinched until it became purple. His eyes were full of panic. You can't kill me. If you kill me, you will become the same as Huang Fuming. You will die too." The man shook off Changsheng and roared, "You have to explain this clearly." Changsheng coughed a few times. When he saw that these people really didn't dare to kill him, he felt more relieved. He smiled triumphantly. "This cold-eating pill is made from a few rare medicinal materials and the cold-eating flower cultivated carefully by our Feng family. As long as you have eaten the cold-eating pill, you will be inseparable from it for a lifetime. Didn't you realize that every time you ate the cold-eating pill, you would get restless and anxious if you didn't take another pill after half a month? Once you don't take the pill for more than half a month, you will fall into madness. You can't wait to dig out your own flesh and blood. In order to take the cold-eating pill again, even if I let you be a dog or pig, you will still beg me for it without hesitation. If you still couldn't get the cold-eating pill after a month, then you will all die." In the last sentence, Changsheng's face was already full of sinister smiles. "From the day you took the cold-eating pill, you have become the puppets of the Feng family. You either swear allegiance to our Feng family or dying slowly in living hell." Ha ha ha! Changsheng's laughter still reverberated in the room, and the crowd had all quieted down with extremely ugly expressions. Their hearts were full of fear, and the gazes looking at Changsheng were full of dread and resentment. They wished they could tear him into pieces. But no one had the guts to really tear Changsheng apart because their lives were in the hands of this despicable person. At the earliest, the medicinal pills in Yanjing City were spread from Murong Mansion. In order to expand the sales of the cold-eating pill, the Murong Mansion even launched a period of promotion to provide free cold-eating pills to the martial artists. When the cold-eating pill was first taken, it could expand the meridians and increase spiritual power. Therefore, it could make people feel that their cultivation had improved in a short time. The martial artists who tasted the sweetness began to scramble to buy. Especially those elite children of famous families who could afford the cost of medicinal pills and were extremely eager to improve their strength. After discovering the effectiveness of the cold-eating pill, they naturally bought the pills crazily. As for those martial artists, who got the pills as a free gift, could only give up regretfully taking the cold-eating pill for a period of time because they couldn't afford the high price. But after giving up taking the cold-eating pill, they found that something terrible had happened. Their bodies desperately desired cold-eating pills to the extent that they couldn't cultivate and think. They felt like their bodies were going to explode. They had to cry and beg to Murong's house, begging Murong's family to give them another cold-eating pill. These low-level martial artists later disappeared. They either became the loyalist of the Feng family or they died miserably in unknown places because of their resistance. In this way, no martial artist knew the true effect of the cold-eating pill. This situation continued until the Murong family was exterminated, and the cold-eating pill supplied to the Yanjing city's martial artists also disappeared. After the cold-eating pill disappeared, those people who had taken the pills had symptoms of addiction, such as irritability, anxiety, regressive cultivation, and hot temper. When they were looking for the cold-eating pill all over the street, they finally found it from the Benevolence Hall. After the Benevolence Hall opened again, it started selling the cold-eating pill. Moreover, this kind of cold-eating pill was more effective than the cold-eating pills sold by the Murong family. It only needed to be taken once and it was bound to become addictive. The effect of expanding muscles and meridians was also more significant at the start. This was why the children of famous families like Huang Fu-ming would think that the cold-eating pill could be compared with the best bone muscle enhancement pill. After all, the cold-eating pill could be purchased in unlimited quantities. The bone muscle enhancement pill, they had to queue for a month, and they weren't guaranteed to be able to buy it. When the entire Benevolence Hall fell into silence, Sain quietly walked to Captain Lin and whispered a few words to him. Captain Lin showed a surprised expression on his face. "Shopkeeper Shi, are you telling the truth?" Sain smiled triumphantly. "You just need to pass the message." Captain Lin nodded when he heard the words. He immediately summoned a soldier from the Iron Kirin and asked him to tell what happened here and Sain's words to Xian Wu. To be on the safe side, he also engraved an inscribed message Jade's slip and sent it out with simple words. At this time, Huang Fu-ming, who had been pressed on the ground by Iron Kirin, suddenly convulsed violently. "Ah! Give me the cold-eating pill, give me the cold-eating pill. I really can't take it anymore." He broke free from the rope that bound him, then he began to scratch his body frantically. He even put his arm to his mouth, biting off his own flesh and blood one by one. Everyone was stunned by the scene. Only the expression on Changsheng's face became more proud and unscrupulous. He sneered and said, "He is already in the third phase of the effect of the cold-eating pill. If he doesn't take the pill, at most 3 days later, his spiritual power will be exhausted, his vitality will burn out, and he will eventually become a corpse. If you want to keep him alive, you'd better let me go. Only I can get the cold-eating pill." Before Changsheng's words were finished, a gray-haired old man strode forward, grabbed Changsheng's collar, and roared, "What did you just say? You dare to say that my son will die?" The onlookers recognized at a glance that this old man was Huang Fu-cheng, one of the 3 high-rank elders of the Huang Fu family with the highest cultivation, the Gold Core stage. He was also Huang Fu-ming's father. Huang Fu-cheng was originally breaking through to the perfect stage of the Gold Core stage, then he suddenly heard his subordinate report that his only son was in a trouble, so he came to check it out hurriedly. Who knows, his son, who originally made him proud, had become such a hideous look after not seeing him for a month. Moreover, Changsheng even said that his son would not live for 3 days. This was his only son, and his talent was so good. He was the hope of the Huang Fu family. How could he allow his precious son to die? Changsheng was grabbed by his neck again, and his eyes were full of fear. He said in a tremble, "No. No. As long as he takes the cold-eating pill again, he won't die. And his cultivation will increase again. I'm telling the truth." Huang Fu-cheng squeezed his throat and said sternly, "Then take out the cold-eating pill right now. If my son is dead, I will strip your skin and bury you together with my son. Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Changsheng yelled in horror, "The cold-eating pill is gone. Iron Kirin has sealed the city gate. The Feng family people cannot get out, so I can't get the materials of the cold-eating pill at all. But I know the pill formula and how to make the cold-eating pill. As long as you save my life and let me out of the city, I can get the ingredients from the base of the Feng family, then I can refine the cold-eating pill for young Master Huang Fu." Huang Fu-cheng increased the strength of the grip abruptly. "Are you lying to me?" No. I really don't dare to lie to you, Master Huang Fu, please spare me. Please spare me." Changsheng was so scared that he almost peed in his pants. His face was full of tears and snots. "If you kill me, young Master Huang Fu will definitely die. Only I can get the cold-eating pill. Young Master Huangfu will definitely die without the cold-eating pill. You can't kill me. You must not kill me. Huangfu Chen was stunned for a while, and he finally let go of Changsheng. As soon as Changsheng fell to the ground, he coughed again and again, but a proud smile appeared on his face. He held his neck and said while laughing, Master Huangfu, I advise you that if you want to save young Master Huangfu, it is best to get me out early. Otherwise, the longer it takes, the more serious the illness of young Master Huangfu will be. Even if he takes the cold-eating pill and recovers at that time, it is difficult for his cultivation level to return to its peak. Huangfu Qing glared at him fiercely, his eyes were so resentful like they were going to tear his body into pieces. He had heard about his son Huangfu Ming taking the cold-eating pill before his retreat. At that time, his son was so full of energy that he finally found the medicinal pill that could match the best bone muscle enhancement pill. He even said that he wanted to break through to the later stage of the meridian stage. He was still happy and proud of his son at that time. Who would have thought that after only a month, his son would become like this? The Feng family and the Benevolence Hall were selling such harmful things. He couldn't wait to skin this Changsheng. However, if this Changsheng died, his son would die too. He would never allow this to happen. Huangfu Cheng's clenched fists slowly relaxed, then he clenched them again. After hesitating for a long time, he finally pleaded with Captain Lin on the side, Captain Lin, please give the old man face and spare Changsheng's life so that he can provide my son with the cold-eating pill. I know this request is too much, but I only have this son. Please give this face to my Huangfu family. Huangfu Cheng's voice became hoarse, shameful and even embarrassed toward the end of the sentence. After Huangfu Qing spoke, the people in the crowd who had taken the cold-eating pill immediately knelt down to plead with the soldiers of Iron Kirin. When they thought that they would become like Huangfu Ming, they were full of horror. Despair and fear had filled their hearts. They just wanted to let Changsheng live and provide them with the cold-eating pill. As for the cold-eating pill, there was no antidote. They had to continue taking it, and they couldn't quit at all. What should they do after taking it once? They couldn't think about solving this problem now. Captain Lin frowned. The situation in front of him was overwhelming to deal with. There were more and more people in the middle of Benevolence Hall, and some people who had taken cold-eating pills got the news and rushed over and pleaded with Captain Lin. Although Captain Lin realized that something was wrong, it was absolutely impossible for him to let Changsheng go. The military order must not be violated. Captain Lin said coldly, Changsheng has committed a terrible crime with medical skills. If I let him go, more people will be killed in the future. Forgive me for following the order of King of Hell. I can't let him go. Huangfu Qing immediately furiously said, Captain Lin, what do you mean? You don't even want to give this face to the old man. Where is His Royal Highness King of Hell? I will talk to him myself. Captain Lin shook his head decisively, I don't know where His Highness is, but I can only follow the order. Sorry that I can't let Changsheng go. Can't let Changsheng go, do you want me to watch my son die? Huangfu Qing roared, and he had already released the pressure of the gold core stage. Captain Lin was only at the meridian stage, and his face instantly paled a bit. And those in the crowd who had also taken cold-eating pills saw someone sticking up for them, they also rushed out in a panic. Someone rushed to untie the rope on Changsheng's body, and someone obstructed the Iron Kirin soldiers. They shouted, only when Changsheng is alive can we get the cold-eating pill. I don't want to become like Huangfu Qing even if I die. Changsheng, give me the antidote now. Even King of Hell can't let us go to death. Let Changsheng go and let him give us the cold-eating pill. Captain Lin's face was getting more and more ugly, and Huangfu Qing was unleashing powerful pressure. But at this time, Iron Kirin's qualities of being powerful were shown. His expression was very calm, including all the soldiers in his squad. Seeing the crowd rioting, Captain Lin severely waved the long blade in his hand and said with a solemn face, whoever dares to move, kill without mercy. As soon as he spoke, the sharp murderous intent on the long blade spread with a strong smell of blood. That could only be seen in the soldiers who had killed thousands of people in the war. This momentum couldn't be simply understood by those who only focused on training. The moment this breath spread, everyone present was silent for a moment. Even Huang Fu Cheng was a little stunned. Seeing that the situation was not right, Shi-san quickly stepped forward and said, "Everyone, I'm shopkeeper Shi-san of Xingda Hall, please listen to me. I know you are very afraid of the cold-eating pill's effect on your body, but do you know if you let Changxing go, how many people will be harmed in the future? What's more, Changxing said that he would give you the cold-eating pill, do you believe that he will really give it? Even if he gives it to you, can it detoxify you all at once? If not, what will you do in the future? Do you want to keep begging Changxing like a dog?" Shi-san's words quickly made everyone look hesitant. They didn't want to go crazy or die, but it was not a good thing to be controlled by Changxing like a dog and be controlled by him for a lifetime. Changxing discovered that the people who were still helping him just now were full of hatred and malice toward him. His face became ugly. He glared at Shi-san and sneered, "Shi-san, since you say so much, why don't you tell if your Xing Hall has anything to cure the cold-eating pill? If you don't, do you want to let these martial artists just wait for their own death?" When it came to death, the faces of these people looked fear again. Changxing was even more sure of the selfishness and fear of death of these people, but he put up a distressed look. "Everyone, don't listen to what Iron Kirin and Shi-san say. They stopped you from saving me, didn't they just want to cause you to die miserably? Saying that I will harm people, it is just their alarmist talk. I tell you, as long as you keep taking cold-eating pill, it is not harmful to the human body at all. Instead, it will help you to improve your cultivation. As long as you save me, no matter who you are, I will provide an unlimited amount of cold-eating pill for you to take whatever you want. And as long as you can break through the nascent soul stage, you will be able to get rid of the side effects of cold-eating pill. By then, you will know that cold-eating pill is better than bone muscle enhancement pill. It is by no means a poison." Shi-san's face was dark, but he didn't refute Changxing's words. He knew Gu Yolan's treatment process. His miss only managed to cure it with great effort, and he didn't know whether she had developed the antidote for cold-eating pill now. Seeing that Shi-san was silent, those people knew that Xingda Hall had no choice but to take the cold-eating pill. They burst into an uproar again. This time, the intimidation of Captain Lin and Iron Kirin could not stop them. The fear of death and madness made them lose their minds. No matter how Iron Kirin's soldiers stopped and suppressed them, they still rushed over frantically. Although Iron Kirin's combat power was very strong, seeing more and more martial artists joining the battle, plus there were gold core stage masters like Huang Fu Cheng among them, the scene became uncontrollable for a while. Iron Kirin was also overwhelmed by the number. It was in a dangerous situation. Changxing was overjoyed when he saw this situation. He didn't forget to add fuel to the fire. "I tell you, cold-eating pill can't be cured, you can only continue to take it. Only if I live, you can have hope. Someone will untie me now." As soon as Changxing's voice sounded, he felt someone grabbing the rope tied to his shoulder. He thought that someone had finally come to rescue him. He couldn't help but overjoyed. He turned around and shouted, "Quick! Help me untie quickly. You are the first to save me, I will give you double cold-eating pill by then." "Double cold-eating pill?" A clear and pleasant voice sounded in his ears. "Changxing, are you sure that Feng family can find the blood of so many virgins with spiritual roots in a short time?" "You, how do you know, it's you?" Changxing saw the person's appearance clearly, and his face changed drastically. He saw a young man with arch eyebrows and phoenix eyes, long eyelashes that curled up, snow-like fair skin. His body even exuded a faint herbal fragrance. If he wasn't the owner of Xingda Hall, Shiyu, who would he be? When Changxing saw Shiyu, he was inexplicably full of jealousy and hatred. Of course, it was the kind of deep jealousy. When he was only a teenager, he could already sell the best quality pill. He was even rumored to be the little miracle healer more amazing than the 8th-rank doctor. Such an honor, Shen, who had been fighting hard for dozens of years, had never received it. Such a young and inexperienced kid actually got it before him. Moreover, Qingchuo knew his identity that day, but they still didn't give him face and embarrassed him in front of everyone. How could he be reconciled? Shen gritted his teeth and said, "Shiyu, what are you doing here?" Hexihaf looked at him with a spurious smile. "Of course, I came to see the famous cold-eating pill in the legend." The people who were in conflict in Benevolence Hall stopped their hands at this time. They discovered at this moment that there were already a few more people in this hall. In addition to the handsome Shiyu miracle healer, there was also a man with a cold face in a black outfit. As soon as Captain Lin saw the man, he immediately stepped forward and saluted in surprise. "Master Xian Wu, you are here finally." Xian Wu nodded. He glanced at the people who were blocked by Iron Kirin, then he looked at Shen, who was still tied up. He praised, "You did a good job." A trace of excitement flashed across Captain Lin's face, and he immediately frowned. "Sir, these people are addicted to cold-eating pill, and Huang Fu Ming is almost dying because of it." To survive, they all demanded the release of Shen. After Captain Lin finished speaking, Huang Fu Qing stepped forward and saluted Xian Wu respectfully. "Mr. Xian, we are not going to oppose King of Hell Mansion, but do you want me to watch my son die? This cold-eating pill has no cure." Xian Wu's expression was cold as always, like a dried-up well that didn't have any ripples. Most of the people in Iron Kirin were like him in this point. He looked at Huang Fu Qing and only said one sentence, "Who said that cold-eating pill is incurable?" As soon as this statement came out, Huang Fu Qing was stunned. Everyone who had just been clamoring to release Shen was stunned. Shen, who was held by He in her hand, widened his mouth in shock. But soon, he recovered and laughed. "Xian Wu, even if you are Nangong Yu's confidant, you can't just tell a lie blatantly. You said cold-eating pill can be cured, are you having a daydream now?" Xian Wu glanced at him coldly like he was looking at a dead man. It was full of disdain. Huang Fu Qing couldn't help saying in a tremble, "Mr. Xian, you just said that cold-eating pill can be cured, is it true? Is it true that someone from King of Hell Mansion can save my son's life?" Xian Wu shook his head and said, "It is not me who can cure the cold-eating pill, but Mr. Shi from Qingde Hall." Xian Wu's words made everyone's eyes fall on He. Shen was taken aback for a moment, then he laughed more mockingly. "Shiyu, you said you can cure the cold-eating pill? Ha ha ha, this is so ridiculous. Do you know what the cold-eating pill is? Do you think the cold-eating pill is a kind of poison? You even want to detox the cold-eating pill? I think you are really getting crazy to be in the limelight." He threw the rope in her hand, and Shen rolled on the floor and smashed into a corner of the table embarrassingly. She put her hands around her chest, looked at Shen condescendingly, and sneered, "You said cold-eating pill has no cure. Are you sure about that?" Shen was dizzy by the hit, and his hatred for He surged up for several points. "Of course, there is no solution. You little boy who knows nothing, how do you know what the cold-eating pill is?" When the cold-eating pill's pill formula was made known, the Grand Master-level pill refiners of the Doctors Association studied it and finally confirmed that there was absolutely no cure for this pill formula. Later, the cold-eating pill was finally refined after several hardships. After determining some alternative formulas, the elders of the Doctors Association tested it again with various detoxification medicinal pills. There was absolutely no cure for the cold-eating pill. Thinking of this, Shen became more confident, as if he had foreseen the scene of He being scolded by the crowd. He said loudly, "Everyone, don't listen to this brat talking nonsense. I tell you that cold-eating pill is not a poison at all. Since it is not a poison, how can there be an antidote? Moreover, after taking the cold-eating pill, the medicinal power directly penetrates into the dantian and meridians, and it merges with your meridians. If you want to completely remove the medicinal properties of the cold-eating pill, there may be hope if you abolish your own spiritual root. Ha ha ha, Changsheng's words and arrogant laughter made all the hopeful people in HTE Benevolence Hall look painful and desperate. Even Xian Wu couldn't help but glance at He. Although he had never touched the cold eating pill, he had also heard of Luli's sect's disciplines. It is said that people who entered Luli's sect couldn't betray no matter how. Once they betrayed, they would suffer eternally. The reason is that every Luli's sect's disciple was forced to take the cold eating pill. This is a kind of addictive medicinal pill. If the antidote is not available, the person will be more painful than death. If there is really a way to cure the medicinal properties of the cold eating pill, how can Luli's sect's people be so fierce and not afraid of death? Does the princess really have a way to do it? Facing Changsheng's ridicule, He slowly shook her head and said, "You know the medicinal properties of cold eating pill quite well. It seems that you have really participated in the refining of the cold eating pill, and you naturally have harmed many people." Changsheng said nonchalantly, "I of course participated in the refining of the cold eating pill. I know the pill formula and the effect of the cold eating pill clearly. In order to verify the effect of the improved cold eating pill, I found dozens of martial artists to do experiments, stopping them from taking the cold eating pill from half a month to a month. In the end, even if I let them kneel on the ground to eat shit, they did accordingly. The medicinal properties of cold eating pill can't be overcome by human will at all. Shiyu, you want to cure the cold eating pill, in your dream." "Ha ha ha," He sneered, "you will know soon whether I'm dreaming or not." With that, she glanced at Qingchuo next to her. Qingchuo immediately took out a medicinal pill from his arms and walked to Huang Fuming. Huang Fuqing stopped Qingchuo quickly. He said nervously, "What do you want to do?" Qingchuo glanced at him coldly, "If you want your son to survive, just move aside." Although Qingchuo was Zhu Ke, one of the 4 confidants of the king of Hell Mansion, Zhu Ke who was walking outside before was not her, but the one in the spirit ceiling prison. Therefore, Huang Fuqing knew Xian Wu, but not her. However, Qingchuo had the cultivation of the gold core stage, and she was picked out of the hidden camp from 100 miles away. The aura exuded from her body made Huang Fuqing stepped aside after trembling. Qingchuo no longer paid attention to Huang Fuqing. She pinched Huang Fuming's chin, who was still wailing and struggling, and stuffed the medicinal pill into his mouth. Changsheng laughed more wildly when he saw this. "Shiyu, you won't be thinking that just a single medicinal pill can make Huang Fuming get better? You're too whimsical. Let me guess what medicinal pill you are using. Is it your best bone muscle enhancement pill from the Shunda Hall? Ha ha ha. I tell you, when the cold eating pill is acting, eating a pill that enhances spiritual power and meridians will only make him suffer more. In the end, he will even go crazy enough to dig out his heart. By then, you are the one who kills young Master Huangfu. Master Huangfu, you must not let this murderer go." Huang Fuqing listened to Changsheng's words, and his face turned green and white. His eyes were red. He looked at Huang Fuming who was still wailing, then he stared at He fiercely. Finally, he couldn't help feeling the torment in his heart and threatened harshly, "Shiyu, if my son is killed by you, I will definitely want you." Before Huang Fuqing had finished speaking, he suddenly heard a long sigh from Huang Fuming on the ground. The original wailing and groaning stopped, and the hands that were scratching his body became relaxed. He even murmured, "So comfortable, so comfortable." Huang Fuqing was taken aback for a moment, then he immediately rushed in front of his son, picked him up, and tremblingly said, "Ming'er, how do you feel?" Huang Fuming opened his eyes laboriously and saw his father's face full of anxiety. He couldn't help but be puzzled. "Father, why are you here? Aren't you in retreat?" "HSS, what's wrong with me?" Huang Fuming suddenly felt pain everywhere in his body. When he lowered his head and saw that his body was covered with blood and blood scars, he was shocked. "Father, what's wrong with me? How come there are so many wounds on my body?" Chapter 861, Give You a Chance. Huang Fuqing stared at him. Seeing that he was conscious and his aura was stable, his voice became more hoarse and trembling, but it was full of hope. Ming'er, are you really suffering anymore? You don't want to take the cold eating pill? Cold eating pill. Cold eating pill. Huang Fu Ming woke up suddenly. There was a frightened expression on his face. He grabbed Huang Fu Cheng's hand. The muscles on his face twitched, showing his extreme fear. Father, something is wrong with the cold eating pill. After taking the cold eating pill, although I have improved in a short time, when I was in retreat for more than half a month, I felt extremely uncomfortable. The itchiness and heat in my body almost made me crazy. I can't think of anything. I just want to take the cold eating pill crazily. Dad, please save me. Huang Fu Cheng held Huang Fu Ming's hand. Thinking of his crazy look just now, his eyes were getting red. He couldn't help but said, Ming'er, do you really not want to take the cold eating pill now? You won't feel mad and uncomfortable anymore. Huang Fu Ming was stunned, then he circled the spiritual power in his body. He was overjoyed immediately. Father, I'm no longer uncomfortable now. My meridians seem to have been injected with a cold spring. Because of this spring, the heat and itchiness seem to be relieved a lot. Father, did you find someone to treat me? Huang Fu Ming's words made Huang Fu Cheng's eye sockets redder, but he was still worried. He let go of his son and let the doctor of the Huang Fu family check Huang Fu Ming's pulse. The doctor checked for a while and immediately nodded and said, Young master's body has indeed recovered a lot now. Although the heat has not disappeared, it has been completely suppressed. Huang Fu Cheng didn't hesitate anymore when he heard the words. He pulled up Huang Fu Ming, who was still lying on the ground, and knelt toward He. Thank you, miracle healer She, for the life-saving grace. Impossible. How is this possible? This is absolutely impossible. Changsheng watched Huang Fu Ming stop groaning and return to normal, and he could even use spiritual power. He fell into incredible madness. He was tied up, but he stood up abruptly, rushed to Huang Fu Ming, and shouted, I don't believe it. The cold eating pill has no cure. Shiyu, you must be lying. Quickly untie me and let me check his pulse. I will expose his tricks. Huang Fu Cheng kicked Changsheng into the air and sneered, You still dare to defame miracle healer Shi when you are about to die? Changsheng, do you think you can live without the cold eating pill as a threat? Changsheng's body became stiff. The fear and disbelief toward He were replaced by the fear of death in an instant. He crawled in front of He frantically, and he said with tears, Miracle healer Shi, I was wrong, I shouldn't slander you. Please forgive me because of my medical skills. I will do my best to serve you in the future. If you let me go east, I will never go west. Miracle healer Shi, please spare me. He looked at him condescendingly. She chuckled, Didn't you always admire the effect of the cold eating pill? Didn't you say that as long as one keeps taking the cold eating pill, it will be a great supplement and will never cause harm to people, right? I will give you a chance now. What? He took out a small transparent glass bottle, but the transparent glass bottle was filled with a blood-red liquid. Chapter 862. End up like this. He shook the small glass bottle and said with a smile, I extract it myself. The cold-eating flower pollen in it is equivalent to the amount of 1,000 cold-eating pills. Didn't you say that the cold-eating pill is harmless, right? Then, can you please try it now? Changsheng's eyes widened in horror. He stepped back frantically, No, please forgive me. In Luli's sect, he had seen how those people who had taken the cold-eating pill for many years died. That was more terrifying than a dry corpse. Only flesh and skin were left, their eyes protruded like they were unwilling to die. No. I don't want to become like that. Before He finished speaking, the martial artists who were protecting Changsheng among the crowds suddenly rushed over, grabbed the glass bottle in He's hand, and rushed toward Changsheng. Didn't you just say that cold-eating pill is a supplement? Didn't you just say that watching others begging for you because of the cold-eating pill drug makes you very happy? You can taste this now too. Son of a bitch. You dare to tempt us to take the cold-eating pill, and want to ruin our life. You should die now. They held down Changsheng, someone held the bottle and someone forced open Changsheng's mouth. Seeing that he wanted to bit his tongue to commit suicide, someone pulled his chin down directly. The liquid in the glass bottle was finally poured into Changsheng's mouth. In the next moment, everyone saw Changsheng's eyes turn white. His body convulsed non-stop. After that, he yelled frantically and scratched his body until his flesh became mangled, until he felt nothing. The most terrifying thing was that everyone saw Changsheng's belly bulging out like a pregnant woman, and the flesh on his body, including his face, seemed to disappear. In other words, these flesh and spirit were absorbed by the bulge on the belly. After about 5 minutes, bang, along with Changsheng's short scream, his flesh exploded and turned into a pile of dead meat. Everyone was stunned by the scene. Thinking that if they kept taking the cold-eating pill, they would end up like this, they couldn't help being terrified. Suddenly, someone rushed to Heshi and knelt down. "Miracle healer Shi, please save me. Please give me the antidote of the cold-eating pill." There was the first person to kneel, then there was the second and the third. All of them looked at Heshi pleadingly as if looking at their last hope, hoping that she could save their lives. Even Huang Fuqing knelt down and pleaded again. Because in addition to Huang Fuming, other people in the Huangfu family also took the cold-eating pill. Heshi looked at the people kneeling in front of them with a cold expression, who said that the addiction in Huang Fuming's body has all been cured. To eradicate the addiction caused by the cold-eating pill, you have to go through a 3 months withdrawal period. My pill can only ease the pain during the withdrawal period so that you can stay sane and endure it. This kind of medicinal pill was developed after her continuous improvement during the treatment of Gu Yulan. Compared with the hardship of treating Gu Yulan at the beginning, now with this kind of medicinal pill, although they also needed to bear the pain of withdrawal, it was much more comfortable than Gu Yulan at the beginning. After hearing Heshi's words, not only were they not disappointed, but they believed even more that the young man, miracle healer, really had a way to treat them. Chapter 863, Medical Sain Huang Fuqing said loudly, "Miracle healer Shi, as long as you can completely abstain my Huangfu family people from the cold-eating pill, my Huangfu family is willing to listen to the commands of doctor." "If I break my word," Heshi put his hands around her chest and interrupted him mercilessly, "No, it's too fake. It's better to buy with crystal stone instead. I do have a lot of medicinal pills at this stage of the cold-eating pill. If you all want it, you can. Go to Shinda Hall to buy it. The price is clearly marked, and you won't be fooled." Everyone in Benevolence Hall looked at her with wide-eyed eyes, not daring to breathe out. If they could buy their life and freedom only with crystal stone, then why not? They were now afraid that miracle healer She would renege, then no one could help them by the time. Heshi added at the end, "If the crystal stone is not enough, you can use the spirit beast or spirit plant as a replacement. It doesn't need to be rare, as long as it has enough portion." With that, she took out a storage ring and threw it to Shi-san, saying softly, "I will leave everything to you." Not bad. As a result, Jinwei Army's rations are at least half resolved. She feels very satisfied. Then Heshi quickly left Benevolence Hall under the escort of Xian Wu and other Iron Kirin guards. The rest of the people looked at Shi-san and the storage ring in his hand. The gaze was like a starving beast staring at the last piece of fat. Shi-san was not afraid at all. He threw the ring up, caught it, and returned to Shinda Hall with a smile. He didn't believe that these people dared to snatch it, otherwise was his identity of confidant butler of King of Hell's princess for nothing? The Iron Kirins were patrolling everywhere outside. Moreover, what he enjoyed most was the feeling that everyone was rushing to flatter him and want to buy medicinal pills from him. It's cool to follow Mississippi. I almost become the most popular person in Yanjing City. After 7 days of purging, Feng family's forces in Yanjing City were finally wiped out. During this period, Iron Kirin also unearthed many secret bases that Feng family endangered the people of Yanjing in Yanjing City. The cellar in the backyard of Benevolence Hall was one of them. There were dozens of virgins with spiritual root qualifications. Changsheng originally planned to send these children out to Feng family these days as raw materials for refining the cold-eating pill. In this cellar, there were still many poor people who were used as the nourishment of the dark spirit plant. Even the Iron Kirin soldiers were calm and self-restraint, their complexions changed seeing their unrecognizable appearances. In the end, the broken corpses of the people who served as the nourishment for the dark spirit plant were sent out. Their relatives couldn't help crying when they saw the corpses, they hated the Feng family to their cores. Coupled with the harm and sequelae caused by cold-eating pill to everyone in Yanjing City, although Shindahal's medicine could help people withdraw from cold-eating pill, the process was very painful. Even after withdrawal, their cultivation would also regress. Because this kind of conspiracy was exposed, the miserable appearances of the victims appeared, making the people in Yanjing City hated the Feng family. They praised King of Hell Mansion and Iron Kirin for their actions to clean up the Feng family forces. The Xingda Hall owner, who could provide the antidote to the cold-eating pill, was regarded as a medical saint by the people of Yanjing City. For a time, the reputation of King of Hell Mansion and Xingda Hall reached their peak in Yanjing City. Chapter 864, Shen Qingchuo's daily life. The homeless virgins found in the cellar of Benevolence Hall were sent to Virtue Home. The virgins sent this time were all very young. The experience in the dark basement made them feel uneasy all day, unable to eat, sleep, and even a little movement would make them cry non-stop. Most of the people in Virtue Home in charge of looking after children were kind-looking middle-aged women who were specially selected and hired by Gu Lufeng. Even so, there were still not enough staff here as the children increased. Shen Qingchuo had been in this Virtue Home for several days. Even her uncle asked her to go back, she refused it. She first came to Virtue Home because of some inexplicable reasons. She wanted to continue arguing with Gu Lufeng, and she wanted to see Gu Lufeng. But after arriving here, getting along with those children every day, she slowly fell in love with this kind of life. She just felt that if she couldn't see these children every day, she felt there was a missing piece in her heart. At this time, Shen Qingchuo was holding a young crying child, and she said softly, "Little one, be a good girl. Although your brother has passed away, he has not left yet. He is so worried about you, he must have become a soul and watch over you. You don't eat well and sleep well, how sad he would be to see it." The girl named Little One had just been rescued from the cellar of the Benevolence Hall. Although more than 30 children were rescued this time, before that, a group of children had been sent out by Changsheng and used as the nourishment for cold-eating flour. The brother of this little girl named Little One was one of them. After being rescued, Xiaowan was seriously ill, she had a high fever. She kept crying, "Brother," in her mouth. Shen Qingchuo felt distressed for this poor little girl, so she had been taking care of her restlessly days and nights. Even though Little One still cried often, her dependence on Shen Qingchuo was a little more deep. Hearing Shen Qingchuo's words, Little One grabbed her sleeve and choked up, "Sister, is what you said is true? My brother is really looking at me? Will my brother really feel sad?" "Yeah." Shen Qingchuo stroked the girl's face, saying softly. Little Wan's brother likes Little One the most. Seeing that Little One is so sad and even sick, how can he be willing to leave? Xiao Wan was overjoyed at first. She turned her head vigorously to look around, then she immediately became worried, but brother is a soul, and everyone can't see him. Isn't brother alone now? Milieu Continent assumed that people had souls after death, but even children knew that souls cannot stay in the world for a long time. They must reincarnate in the 6 realms of samsara. Otherwise, they would become wandering ghosts that would disappear in the end. Shen Qingchuo nodded and said, "Yeah. Your brother stays because he is worried about Xiaowan. Only when Little One eats well and is not sad, your brother can only reincarnate at ease. Does Little One want brother become a wandering ghost?" Xiaowan immediately burst into tears and shook her head vigorously with her mouth flat. "No. No. Little One wants brother to be good. From now on, Little One must eat and sleep well. Brother, You can go. Don't worry about little Wan anymore. Little Wan will be obedient. The little girl's voice was hoarse and persistent, and Qingchuo felt sore in her heart hearing that. After Wan finished speaking, she immediately picked up the spoon and stuffed the rice into her mouth. Her mouth was too small and she stuffed too much the rice, so she could only chew with her cheeks bulging to try her best to eat it. Chapter 865, Wishful Thoughts. The food that couldn't fit fell on the clothes. Qingchuo picked up the food carefully and wiped off the soup at the corner of her mouth. As the miss of the Qingxie sect, she didn't feel any disgust at all for doing these things. Wan raised her head and showed her a bright smile. She asked with her eyes, "Am I a good girl?" Qingchuo felt distressed for her, but she still smiled softly. "Little Wan is a good girl. If your brother sees that you live well, he will definitely reincarnate into a good family." Gu Lufeng walked in through the gate and couldn't help being slightly startled when he saw this scene. He didn't look away for a long while. Qingchuo finished feeding little Wan's food, took off her collar and carried her down. A little boy ran over, took Xiaowan's hand, and took her to play. Soon, there was laughter from the children. It was the purest and most transparent laugh in the world, which could penetrate people's hearts and make people forget all unpleasant things. Qingchuo, with a delighted, turned around and met Gu Liufeng's startled eyes. Her face blushed, and she immediately woke up. She ran forward a few steps. "Hey, why you come here only now? Are you busy in Shengde Hall?" Gu Lufeng regained his senses, then he put up the usual smile on his face, because too many people buy cold eating pill. Shengde Hall is too busy these few days. I went to make arrangements in the morning. I didn't intend to come here late. Qingchuo was accustomed to hearing Gu Liufeng's perfunctory or slightly ridiculous remarks to her. At this time, listening to him answering her so solemnly, he couldn't react for a while. Once Gu Lufeng finished speaking, his face couldn't help but blush. "Why do I sound like I'm purposely explaining to Qingchuo?" Qingchuo looked at her brows that were covered by the mask, but the romantic peach eyes were not covered. At this time, he looked at her with glittering eyes that were truly moving. Her face turned red all of a sudden, and she couldn't help whispering, Why are you wearing a mask? I think you look good without a mask." Gu Lufeng was taken aback, and then a bit of embarrassment appeared in his eyes. He put his hand on his mask and said in a low voice, "No, I'm afraid I will scare the children if I don't wear a mask. That hideous scar, that unbearable past, they aren't worthy of Qingxie sect's Mississippi. No. Wait, what am I thinking?" Gu Lufeng almost escaped in the end, but before he walked into the inner hall, a noise came from the door. "I'm out of alcohol, it's all finished. I'm really going to die. Good disciple, come out now. Your master has finished all the alcohols." While talking, an old man covered in mud appeared at the door, holding an empty wine bottle in his hand. He walked in staggeringly. As soon as he saw Gu Lufeng, the old man rushed over excitedly. "Oh, little boy Gu, it's great that you are here. Quickly find my good disciple for me. Tell her my alcohol is finished and let her send more here." The little boy Gu made Qingchuo's eyes widened in surprise. She looked at Gu Lufeng with surprise. Her small hand covered her mouth, her small face was flushing like she was trying hard not to laugh. Gu Lufeng blushed, stepped forward and said, "Immortal, where did you go? You suddenly left without noticing us. Shiyu has been looking for you for a long time." Chapter 866, Was Abducted? Oh, about this, after I took the alcohol, I of course find a good place to enjoy them. However, you see, all the alcohols are finished now. Gu Lufeng sighed helplessly. "Then please wait for a while, I will send a letter to Shiyu." Okay. Do it now, quickly. Old man can't wait anymore. Not long after Gu Lufeng sent the voice message talisman, He arrived quickly. It was just that she didn't come alone, but she brought someone with her. Standing on the left-hand side of Heshi was an unparalleled handsome young man. He stood side by side with Heshi. Although he did not show any intimacy with Heshi, the occasional action and eye expression could always blind the others. The first thing the old man noticed was the man next to his disciple. No matter it is appearance, talent, or momentum, my disciple is already shocking in that. But the momentum of this man doesn't get overwhelmed by my disciple, and he even gives an impression of protecting my disciple in his wings. Could this man be the sweetheart my little disciple mentioned before? TSK, how old my disciple is. She is actually abducted by a man so early. In the future, aren't the delicacies and alcohol made by my little disciple will all be given to this kid? TSK. What's so good about this kid? Isn't he just looks a little more handsome, has a little higher cultivation base, and has a little more amazing aura? The old man assessed Nangongyu up and down. Nangongyu was also looking at the old man with a strange light flashing in his eyes. Heshi did not notice the turbulent waves between the two. She stepped forward and said with a frown, "Master, I'm actually not your apprentice but your professional winemaker, right?" My good disciple, why did you say this? Your master's most favorite disciple, Heshi sneered. What kind of master who likes his disciple will leave without saying goodbye repeatedly? Only when there is no alcohol will he come to the door. I'm not your professional winemaker, who am I then? The old man was very guilty when he heard that. He immediately said apologetically with a smile, I'm getting older, so I forgot to tell the good disciple. Good disciple, don't be angry. For the alcohols, Heshi gave him an angry look, but she still took out a few large jars of alcohol. Once the lid of one of the jars of alcohol was lifted, the old man smelled a pungent scent of alcohol that was mixed with strong spiritual power. It immediately aroused him. Seeing him staring at the alcohols with straight eyes, Heshi couldn't help but smiled triumphantly. Master, this is the strongest alcohol disciple has made. I name it, Immortal Drunk. Master, didn't you say my alcohol isn't strong enough? I will let you taste a potent one this time. This alcohol was brewed according to Erguoto's method in her previous life. She let little eggs steam it 70 times repeatedly. Even an elephant would be drunk by it. The old man was stunned for a long time. He shouted, pounced on the jar, held it and drank it. The pungent heat entered his throat, bringing an extremely stimulating and refreshing feeling. The old man yelled, "Good alcohol. Really good alcohol. Ha, I didn't expect that in me, Xuanqing's lifetime, I can still drink such good alcohol. My life is really worthy." Obviously, the old man really loved these alcohols, he was very satisfied with it. Chapter 867, Size Up. But what made Heshi dumbfounded was that the old man didn't immediately bottom up the alcohols like last time. Instead, he carefully stored them in the storage device. After keeping the alcohols, the old man was satisfied. After that, he glanced at Nangongyu, who was standing next to his disciple, and said in a hostile tone, "Disciple, this little white face is not the sweetheart you said last time, right?" Heshi blushed and glanced around. She saw Gu Lufeng and Qingchuo looking at her. Qingchuo's eyes even widened in shock. The few children like Shi Lang and the others curiously surrounded her and looked at her and Nangongyu. Heshi felt that it was really a disgrace to have such a master. But she was really unwilling to deny Nangongyu's identity. So, under the gaze of Nangongyu's scorching anticipation, Heshi still blushed and gave a low "N" before saying, "He is Nangongyu. I brought him to see master." The old man squinted his eyes and glanced at Nangongyu critically. He snorted coldly and said in a strange way, "Aya, you even brought him to see master. Is this kid really that good?" Nangongyu was high-spirited at this time. Even the coldness in his eyes had faded a lot. This is the first time Sheer has admitted our relationship in public. Now she even brought me to see her master. Doesn't that mean we aren't far from getting married? Thinking of this, Nangongyu couldn't help smiling a little. He no longer cared about the rude comments of the old man. He took a step forward and slowly cupped his fist toward the old man. Immortal Xian Qing, it's a pleasure to meet you. This time, it was Heshi's turn to be stunned. She looked at the old man with a hostile face, then she looked at Nangong Yu and said in wonder, you two know each other? Nangong Yu smiled faintly. His expression showed no emotion. A few years ago, I have met Immortal by chance. Heshi glanced at her master, and she saw that he frowned and said unwillingly, a few years ago you were just a little guy whose hairs were even grown fully yet. You even had a sissy tone. In just a few years, you have already abducted my most beloved disciple. Nangong Yu did not get angry when he heard the words, but he reached out and shook Heshi's little hand. He said softly, Immortal Xian Qing, I really like Sheer, I want to marry her as a wife, and I will only love Sheer alone in my life. I will never have any relationship with other women. I hope Immortal Xian Qing can approve our marriage. When Nangong Yu said this, everyone on the sidelines was moved. Most of the people here were women and children. They had little knowledge, so they didn't recognize Nangong Yu's identity. However, judging by his demeanor and excellent appearance, they knew that he was extraordinary. In Miluo continent, men usually had few wives and concubines. This man actually promised not to have any relationship with other women. That was really too shocking. Only Immortal Xian Qing snorted. He disdainfully said, isn't it natural not to have a relationship with other women? Or you think that my Xian Qing's disciple can simply marry anyone? If it weren't for your excellent talent and there is no one better than you in the Miluo continent, do you think you are worthy of my disciple? Nangong Yu smiled with scorching eyes, I only recognize Sheer as my partner. Since I want to marry her, I will naturally try to be worthy of her, I will protect her for the rest of my life. Chapter 868, You are a woman. Immortal Xian Qing nodded unwillingly, At least, you have a good taste. Then he thought of Nangong Yu's identity, and his strength that was now considered powerful in the Miluo continent. He then looked at the way he was fascinated by his disciple, and he couldn't help but be delighted again. If the old guy knew that his descendant is being so obedient to my disciple, he can only be a slave who doesn't dare to disobey his wife, I wonder how angry will he be. Among all the people onlookers, the most shocked was Qingchuo. When Shiyu appeared just now, Qingchuo was very surprised. She stayed in Yanjing City for Shiyu, but during this time, she followed Gu Lufeng to help out in this virtue home. She kept arguing with Gu Lufeng while taking care of the children, so she forgot about Shiyu for a while. Now that Shiyu suddenly appeared, she was very happy. However, she suddenly heard that Shiyu had a sweetheart already. When she saw Nangong Yu holding Shiyu's hand without shyness, she couldn't help being shocked. She grabbed Gu Liufeng's hand and asked in disbelief, Heart, sweetheart. What heart? Gu Lufeng saw that she was nervous and shocked, she couldn't even speak coherently. He couldn't help asking with worry, what's the matter? Qingchuo pointed at Nangong Yu and Heshi, and she said in a tremble, aren't both of them, how come? Gu Lufeng was amused by the little girl's reaction. Seeing her fainting expression, he couldn't help teasing her, don't you know that man and man can be together in this world? Ah! Qingchuo's face turned pale. Heshi heard the conversation between them, and she couldn't help but glare at Gu Lufeng. She stepped forward and said openly to Qingchuo, Miss Shen, I'm sorry to not tell you before that I'm actually a woman. Shiyu is just the man whom I disguise. It's just a convenient identity for me to use outside. Qingchuo covered her mouth and said in disbelief, You are a woman. But, how could it be? How are you not a man? Heshi saw that her face turned green and white for a while, and she looked like she was about to cry. She couldn't help but ask with concern, Miss Shen, are you okay? Qingchuo remembered his fascination with Shiyu at the beginning, even all the seniors of the Qingxue sect could see it. I never expect that the person I fall in love with is actually a woman. If my seniors and uncles know about it, how am I going to face their ridicule? Also, Gu Lufeng. Qingchuo couldn't help but look at Gu Lufeng with tears and shame. Gu Lufeng must have seen my eagerness toward Shiyu. He must have known that Shiyu is a woman, so he must be laughing at my action long ago, right? For some reason, thinking that Gu Lufeng might laugh at her and look down on her, Qingchuo felt that she was 100 times sadder than knowing that Shiyu was a woman. It's 100 times sadder than being laughed at by her seniors. He was still looking at Qingchuo with doubt and concern. The little girl from Qingxia sect had a naive, hearty, and kind personality. She quite liked this little girl. Shi Lang, who watched the excitement, said for fear that things wouldn't go wrong, Sister Shen doesn't know that Big Brother is a woman, so she must be secretly in love with the Big Brother. Oh, no, I should be calling her Big Sister now. Chapter 869, Attracting Affections. Qingchuo's face turned pale when she heard Shi Lang's words. Her figure staggered slightly. Gu Lufeng was right by her side, and quickly helped her, and said with concern, "Qingyu, are you okay?" Qingchuo finally couldn't help it anymore and cry out, "Gu Lufeng, you knew it all along. Why didn't you tell me? Is it that you want to see me embarrassing myself, you want to laugh at me secretly?" Woo-woo, as Qingchuo said, she shook off Gu Lufeng's hand, covered her sad face and ran out. "Qingchuo!" Gu Lufeng exclaimed, watching her disappear to the door with a lost expression on her face. She felt that no matter how dumb she was, she could smell something from the two of them. She looked at the Gu Lufeng who seemed to have lost his soul, and she said with a smile, "Why are you still standing here? Why don't you go after her quickly? Qingchuo's cultivation isn't high. What if anything happens to her out there? Anything happens to her?" Gu Lufeng's heart was tense. Thinking that something would happen to the little girl who was chattering in his ears every day, his heart seemed to be gripped by something, his mind went blank. The next moment, he didn't even figure out the reason, but he had rushed out instinctively. Seeing that Gu Lufeng disappeared at the door, Nan Gongyu couldn't help but glance at He with a grievance. "I really can't let Sheer leave my side. She is too easy to attract attention. I only left for just a few months. Not to mention Ouyang Haoshuan who follows Sheer with an ill intention, even a woman was fascinated by Sheer. No way. I have to watch her more closely in the future." He hurried to see immortal Qianqing today. Apart from introducing Nan Gongyu to him, there was one more important thing. Among all the people He knew, apart from Nan Gongyu, the person with the most unfathomable strength was her master. Even Nan Gongyu was helpless about Shao Qi's situation. Coupled with the seal in his dantian and the thing in the seal, it had always made her uneasy and worried. If there was anyone at Miluo Continent who was more knowledgeable and knew more secrets than Nan Gongyu, then it must be the mysterious and cheap master. As He was about to ask her master to follow her back to the courtyard, she was unexpectedly pulled back by Nan Gongyu. Before He could say anything, she felt a heat on her lips, the man's hot breath had swept her lips and teeth. However, this kiss was very restrained, it was separated with just a touch. But just such a short touch was enough for everyone in this virtue home to stare wide. They all walked away in horror and embarrassment. He's swollen cheeks were flushed, and she punched at the man's chest, saying angrily, "What are you doing? This guy, his shamelessness is getting more and more out of control." Nan Gongyu hugged her into his arms, snorted coldly, and whispered in her ear, "This is Sheer's punishment for attracting affections. Even a woman has become your admirer. I'm not happy about this, so I have to get back some interest." "You?" He was dumbfounded. She pushed away the man, ignored his crazy speech and walked to immortal Qianqing. "Master, I want your help for one thing." Immortal Qianqing was staring angrily at the man who had just taken advantage of his disciple. He was thinking furiously about whether to teach this kid a lesson. Chapter 870, I'm stupid. But when he thought that he could not simply use his high-level cultivation in this world, and the 20-years-old boy in front of him already had a terrifying soul-splitting stage's strength. If they were really fighting, he was not necessarily his opponent. Immortal Xian Qing's face suddenly became unsightly. He was really in a bad mood. So, hearing Heshi's words, Immortal Xian Qing immediately raised his eyebrows and said, "Okay. Good disciple, you want my help, of course, Master is willing to help you. But this kid is unpleasing to my eyes. You ask him to stay away from you, then Master will help you. How about that?" Heshi was taken aback, and she couldn't help smiling. When she turned around and saw Nangong Yu's gloomy face, she could no longer hold her smile. At this time, Gu Lufeng had already caught up with Qingchuo. Qingchuo was standing alone by the lake. She was wiping her tears, and her shoulders were twitched as she cried. The sobbing sound could even soften people's hearts. Gu Lufeng only felt that his heart was also aching with the low sobbing sound, but he was more at a loss. He raised his hand and wanted to pat Qingchuo's shoulder to comfort her, but he still didn't have the gut to pat her. It took him a long while to say in a low voice, "Qingchuo, don't cry. You won't look pretty if your eyes get swollen." Qingchuo was even sadder hearing that, and she cried even harder. She complained with a grievance in a sobbing tone, "You all are laughing at me behind me anyway, I hate you all." Gu Lufeng hurriedly said, "Why would I laugh at you? I didn't tell you Shiyu's identity as a woman at the beginning because it would be harmful to Shiyu, I didn't mean to hide from you." After hearing Qingchuo's cry, she choked and wiped her tears again. But this time she looked at Gu Lufeng with her tearful eyes. Seeing that she was really so sad, Gu Lufeng felt uncomfortable as if his chest was blocked by something. He sighed slightly and said, "Do you really like Shiyu that much?" Qingchuo was taken aback. She put down the hand covering his face, revealing a small face full of tears and big red eyes. She flattened her lips and nodded, then she shook her head again. She wiped the tears from her face embarrassedly and said, "Actually, knowing that Shiyu is a woman, I'm not particularly sad. Now I think about it, I think she is amazing. She is obviously a girl like me, she is not older than me and her cultivation is about the same as mine, but she is so amazing. She operates the Xingde Hall, and she can teach the Feng family bastards a good lesson. I really admire her when I think about it." Gu Lufeng saw her eyes sparkling when she talked about it, it was full of admiration and excitement as if she had forgotten all the sadness she had just said. He also felt funny for her in his mind. He took out a clean handkerchief and handed it to Qingchuo, then he said with a soft tone, "Since you are not sad, what do you still cry? Even your little face becomes so dirty." Qingchuo took the handkerchief and wiped her face. As soon as the silk handkerchief came close to the end of her nose, she smelled a faint fragrance. It was like the smell of this person, it was warm and not strong, but it smelled like sunshine. Qingchuo blushed, put his handkerchief on her face, and said in a low voice, "I just felt too embarrassed. At that time, I was very courteous to Shiyu in Xingde Hall. You must have seen it. Do you think I'm stupid?" Chapter 871, Little junior sister Apprentice married. Well, seeing her covering half of her face with the handkerchief and revealing the pair of big nervous eyes, he couldn't help but patted her forehead lightly. He said with a faint smile, "It's pretty stupid. However, you are cute because of the stupid." After Gu Lufeng finished speaking, he turned around and said, "Okay, let's go back. You just ran away while crying, so those little guys must be worried. Little Wan is still crying for Sister Chua." You call me stupid again." Qingchuo yelled and chased after him. While walking beside Gu Lufeng, she said angrily, "Don't say I'm stupid, let alone laugh at me secretly. Otherwise, I will make you pay for it." Their voices gradually sounded far away, but the girl's twittering voice came from afar with a vibrant voice. Just beside the river where the two of them were standing, two young men in Qingchuo sect costumes slowly walked out, looking in the direction they left. One of them said, "Senior, it seems that the junior sister apprentice is really in love this time. Should we report to Master's Junior Shen?" Another person laughed and said, "Master's Junior Shen has already noticed it long ago. He is testing the character of that surname Gu." The former speaker sighed, "Little junior sister apprentice is the beloved sister of our Qingchuo sect. If he wants to marry her back, he will have to go through a lot of tests by then. TSK, I don't know if this surname Gu can survive the tests. We don't need to worry about this. I heard that surname Gu is the confidant of Mr. Shiyu. Shengda Hall is basically under his operation. His future must be limitless. If junior sister apprentice marries him, then the cooperation between Shengda Hall and Qingchuo sect will be closer, which is also a blessing for us." "Whoa, doesn't that mean we get more best quality pills in the future?" "Haha, junior sister apprentice, you find a good man to marry." Heshi took Nangong Yu and immortal Xian Qing back to the courtyard. As for driving away Nangong Yu, someone said something to the old man. Although the old man looked sulky, he allowed Nangong Yu to follow in the end. As soon as they came to the courtyard, Heshi pretended to go to the back room to call out Xiaoqi from the void. Xiaoqi was sleeping next to the ninth secluded spirit spring, so he was still a little drowsy when he was summoned. Because of malnutrition in the cave, his original hair was very dry and rough. After Heshi rescued him, she cut his hair short, but it had grown a lot now. At this moment, he was rubbing his eyes with messy hair. His cuteness was indescribable. Heshi couldn't help but rubbed his messy hair. Xiaoqi suddenly woke up and hugged Heshi. He rubbed his head against her chest, and he said affectionately, "Sis, duh." Someone who watched this scene immediately became furious. This little pervert is getting more and more unruly. He took a step forward, pulled Xiaoqi away from Heshi and threw him aside. Xiaoqi suddenly woke up. He sobbed a few times aggrievedly, and he murmured at Nangong Yu with a pouting mouth. However, he didn't dare to go against him. He just stood beside Heshi obediently and tugged her sleeve. The old man's gaze kept moving on him and Heshi since Xiaoqi appeared. The boy in front of him looked like 16 years old. His facial features were similar to Heshi, but his figure was thinner than Heshi as a girl. His expression was even more muddle-headed. The old man had noticed something abnormal at a glance. Chapter 872, The old man was shocked. The old man raised his eyebrows and said, "Good disciple, does this young man have a blood relation to you?" Heshi nodded and said, "Master, Xiaoqi is the younger twin brother. I want to let Master to see what happened to Xiaoqi." The old man immediately looked sulky. "Last time you let Master see the kid who was on fire, I almost gave away my life because of it. Now you want me to see your brother again. Haze, my life is really tough. I'm asked to do laborious tasks as soon as I come back. My disciple doesn't even massage me a little." Heshi threw a storage ring to the old man and said with a chuckle, "Okay, Master, stop pretending. This is what I have kept all these times to pay a tribute to Master. You should be satisfied with this, right?" The old man took the storage ring and wanted to act arrogant for a while. As his divine sense looked into the ring, he was immediately exasperated. He said while drooling, "Ayaya, how come there are so many food and wine? Good disciple, you are really filial. I knew you are good to Master." With that said, he didn't care about his image and took out a chicken leg from the storage ring and gnawed it happily. While gnawing, he looked at Nangong Yu provocatively. "This is specifically given to me by my good disciple, you can't have it." Nangong Yu gave a cold snort and turned his head. He decided not to bother this old man. After eating the chicken leg, the old man walked to Xiaoqi's side and detached his spiritual power to investigate Xiaoqi's body. Xiaoqi was a little nervous seeing stranger. He kept hiding beside Heshi, tugging her sleeve. The pair of purple eyes were widened, staring at the old man. The pupils were clear as if the bottom of the spring could be seen in them. The old man's expression was slightly stunned. He somehow felt that the pure spiritual power radiated from this young man was somewhat familiar. His spiritual power went into Shaoqi's seal in his dantian, and he got feedback immediately. The old man's eyes widened suddenly. His eyes were full of shock and horror. How is this possible? How can a small body seal such a powerful force? This kind of power shouldn't appear in this realm at all, right? What is going on? Master, what's wrong? He asked anxiously as she saw her master losing his composure. Is there something wrong with the seal on Shaoqi? The old man stared at He for a moment, then at Shaoqi. After watching back and forth in surprise for a long time, he slowly shook his head and said, "Good disciple, you let master calm down." "Let me calm down first." He was helpless, so she had to let the old man sit aside with a frown. The look in his eyes changed uncertainly. His oily hands holding the chicken leg kept scratching his hair. Obviously, something made his mood fluctuating, and he was unable to calm down. After a while, he raised his head and said, "Disciple, do you know who your parents are?" After a pause, he stated the facts, that dogs hit Nalan family's people can never be your biological parents. He nodded and shook her head again. "I only know that Shaoqi and my biological father is not Nalan Jingzi, my mother is in Lingyue. Her identity and origin are very mysterious. Even Nalan Jingzi doesn't know her true identity." "Master, have you heard of the name in Lingyue?" Chapter 873, Siam Continen and Lingyue. The old man frowned. He thought hard for a while, but he still shook his head in the end. "I don't have any impression, I have never heard of the name." She remembered something, and she took out the portrait she got from Nalan Jingzi and unfolded it to the old man. The old man only glanced at the portrait, then his expression changed. He frowned tightly. He looked at his disciple with a complicated expression, and he slowly said, "Are you sure she is your biological mother?" He nodded. "Doesn't master think that my mother and I look alike?" The old man was stunned. Ugh, he really had no idea about people's looks, commonly known as face blindness, so when he first saw Nan Gongyu, he didn't realize that he had once met this kid. It was later that Nan Gongyu exuded the powerful aura that made feel him familiar, then he recognized it with keen perception. It was the same as this portrait. He did not recognize the person on the portrait, nor did he realize that the person on the portrait was very similar to his disciple. The old man was silent for a long while before his expression condensed slightly. "Actually, I don't know your mother, but I have seen the exact same portrait like this one." "Portrait? You have seen this portrait?" He opened her eyes slightly. "Does master know the identity of my mother?" The old man shook his head and said, "Your mother should not be from this continent, and it is very likely that she is not from my realm too. When I saw your mother, I had not yet come to Miluo continent. That time, I just came out from a closed-door training. I happened to meet a group of people looking for her with a portrait like this." Nan Gongyu, who had been silent on the side, interrupted suddenly. "Immortal Xian Qing is from the upper realm Siam continent." Siam continent? He had heard of this continent long ago in the last words of old man Shimi. This was a continent that had a richer spirit than the Miluo continent, and almost all people living in it were cultivators. As for the martial artists of the Miluo continent, if they reached the soul-splitting stage and survived the heavenly tribulation, they could fly to the Siam continent. He has always thought that the Siam continent was similar to the heaven, the highest place. Could there be more planes above the Siam continent? What kind of existence will that be? He quickly said, "Master, do you know who are looking for in Lingyue?" The old man shook his head and said, "I don't know most of those people, but I can feel that their cultivation is unfathomable. Moreover, I know one of them. That person is a sect master of the largest sect in the Siam continent, but he was respectful to those people, even to the point of humility. What kind of person can make the sect master of the largest sect in the Siam continent to be humble?" He frowned, and she suddenly became curious about her and Xiaoqi's life experience. Why did Lingua come to Miluo continent, a very low-level plane for her? Why did she put a seal on me and Xiaoqi's dantian? The old man rolled up the scroll and handed it to He, then he said with a serious face, "Good disciple, from now on you shouldn't take out this painting anymore, let alone let anyone see it." That group of people in the Siam continent all looked fierce and evil. They must not have good intentions. He nodded, then she hesitated. Will others recognize me from my appearance? Chapter 874, Divine Soul Jade. Do I really have to change my face every day in the future? Nangang Yu rubbed her head and smiled. Sheer, you didn't realize? Actually, after your dantian was unsealed, as your cultivation level increases, your appearance is very different from Lingua now. If people didn't compare you directly to this portrait, very few people would associate you with Lingua. Really? He touched her face. It was true that since she first saw Nalan He's true face and got shocked for a while, she had never paid attention to the changes in her appearance. Nangang Yu couldn't help looking at Xiaoqi, frowning slightly. Xiaoqi's appearance gave him a familiar shadow. No matter what, He was still very happy that she didn't need to disguise herself in the future. She thought of Xiaoqi's seal and his dantian and his missing soul, then she quickly asked the old man, "Master, what is the seal in Xiaoqi's body?" The old man shook his head. "I can't say clearly, and I think you'd better not touch this seal again. If the power in the seal is released, it may be a disaster for you and Xiaoqi. I'm sure that this seal is harmless. Although I don't know what's inside, from the perspective of Xiaoqi's physical condition and the fact that his spirit has not been completely lost, it should be of great benefit to him. It can also let him live for 1,000 years. It's just that because of the seal, Xiaoqi will probably never be able to cultivate." He heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. "It doesn't matter. He can't cultivate, I can protect him. As long as he can live happily, it's enough." She could place Xiaoqi in void, then took him to travel. She would also become stronger and stronger to protect her cherished relatives, lovers and friends from any harm. As for the missing soul, the old man took out a purple jade stone from his arm and handed it to He. "I accidentally got this divine soul jade from somewhere. Although it is far from enough to restore his soul, it can also help him get back a little bit of his intelligence. If you can find enough divine soul jade to nourish his soul well, then one day his soul will regenerate. Even if he can't become a normal person right away, at least it will restore the mind of a young child, then it will grow slowly." He took the purple jade. She felt gentle touching it, then a tremor from the depths of the soul made her full of attachment and affection for the jade. "Is this divine soul jade? Holding it in my hand seems like returning to a warm mother body." The old man gave out the jade, then he immediately stretched his back. "I have settled the matter for you, and I have gotten the good alcohol and food, so I'm going to find a place to eat and drink now." He was really helpless. "Master, you are leaving again? This old man is really mysterious. Every time he gets the alcohol and food, he will disappear." The old man threw an inscribed jade slip to He and said with smile, "Don't say that I leave without telling. Just use this inscribed jade slip to contact me if there is anything. As long as I'm not getting into the ice abyss or something, I will definitely come to find you, my good disciple. Of course, if my alcohol is finished, I will come to you as well." Chapter 875, Got the advantage, but still complained after speaking. He turned and left without hesitation. He frowned slightly as he looked at the old man leaving. "I somehow feel that the old man has been worried since he checked Xiaoqi's dantian and saw the portrait of Lingua. The last joke is also to deliberately conceal the mood. Moreover, Master never allows me to contact him actively, but this time he gave me an inscribed jade slip for contact. Is it because he is afraid something may happen to me?" Nangang Yu stepped forward to hug He, and he said in a sour tone, "You have watched him for a long time. Why weren't you so unwilling when I was leaving?" He was dumbfounded. She tapped the man's chest and said in annoyance, Nangongyu, you can really be jealous of anything. Nangongyu grabbed her slender fingers, gently held them in her hands, and asked casually, Sheer, how did you become immortal Xian Qing's disciple? He briefly explained the process of her apprenticeship. Nangongyu's face became extremely weird after hearing this. You said that immortal Xian Qing begged you to accept him as your master. Yeah. He said with a little annoyance. At that time sealed dragon domain was opened. I knew that there were many dangers, so I didn't want to join in the fun. Who knew this old man threw me in without my consent? He even said that it was a gift. Nangongyu's face looked even weirder, and he could only say after a while, Sheer, this is something that the others can't ask for. He had heard that immortal Xian Qing's personality was extremely strange. Except for the few disciples he accepted when he was young, he almost never accepted any discipline after he ascended. He also didn't need anyone around to serve him. How many people asked him for advice on cultivation with his favorite alcohol and food and wanted to worship him as their master, but he rejected them without exception. Such immortal Xian Qing would actually beg Sheer to accept him as her master. When Nangongyu said that, He was also a little dumbstruck. She thought for a while before holding her chin and said, Is it because the alcohol I brew and the food I cook is so delicious? It can't be because I look good, right? Nangongyu was amused by her words. He pinched her little nose and kissed her lips gently. Now He was starting to show the lively nature in front of him. Such a change made Nangongyu very happy. But thinking that every time this master came, his only concern was food and alcohol. She gritted her teeth. He once taught her sword skills, but he left her in the sword array because he was drunk. She couldn't help but complained, I was being forced. You let those people try to cook for the heartless master for a month, then ask them again whether it is a great fortune to be immortal Xian Qing's disciple. Nangongyu laughed, flicked her forehead, and said, Little girl, you get the advantage, and yet you're still complaining? She thought for a while, and it was true. She couldn't help but laugh too. Xiaoqi on the side didn't know what had happened, so he laughed as well. For a while, the room was full of laughter. The Feng family on the Wuliang mountain after experiencing the destruction of the Luli sect, another shocking event happened to them. He Sha actually died. Even the 2 hall masters and nearly 100 high-level martial artists sent by the Feng family all died in Yanjing City. What angered Feng family most was that the person who killed He Sha was actually King of Hell, Nangongyu. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.